snow, concluding the Star Spangled Banner. 29-year-old Steve Walcom will always remember this night. This is his first game as a National Hockey League referee, and we wish him well. Gord Brossiker and Pat DePuzzo are the linesmen. Bob Essenza, lifetime against the Flyers, 2-2-1, lifetime 11 career shutouts. This guy is good. It's as simple as that.
Well, with Roussel, he continues to excel for the Flyers. He was mentioning today that he had trouble for the past 2 years in how to handle the puck behind the net, setting it up from his defenseman. He's worked hard at that with the help of Bernie Perrant and feels very comfortable now in that position.
Brindamore, Dineen, and Boyven, sort of a bash and crash line to start things out here for the Flyers. Yushkevich and Benning to be the defense. Puck given away to Darren Shannon. Works it all the way back, and Teppo Numanen takes over. Numanen and Dean Kennedy, the defenseman. Troy Murray and also John Druce, the ex-Washington Capital, the other forwards up front for the start. Good centering pass by Murray. Getting this is Dineen, starts it back for Brindamore, but it is cut and worked back along by Druce. So Brian Benning goes back to get it. Brian Benning will be a guest of Ken Adelberger between periods in our contest tonight. Brindamore with a pass across, and it is picked off and nudged on by Boyven. Brought on by Brian Benning and shaken to the corner. Boyven burrows his way in after that. Housley there nearby too. Puck poked along by Shannon. Back up the boards, it is sent by Druce and all the way down, and we're going to get an icing call here. As to touch up is Terry Karkner, playing in his 300th tilt tonight.
Carlisle is still nursing an injury, and he's pretty close to returning. And also, I believe he's got some contract problems that needs to be straightened out. Brown is healthy. McGill came here in a possible replacement for Galley. Natras is day-to-day, and Peterson was a scratch after playing his first game of the year last night.
Before this face-off, we have Eric Lindros going over and saying something to the referee, Steve Walcom. Whenever that happens after the first stoppage, I guess over the years I've become conditioned to think maybe there's a lineup discrepancy, because it always has to be called to the attention of the officials after the first series, and that was not the case here. Lindros will have Recchi and Kozlowski next to him.
Well, last night Recchi played the left side, and so for tonight's start, we've got Kozlowski playing over the left wing and Recchi playing the right side. That is the more comfortable position for Recchi. Feels that he sees the net a lot better playing the off wing. Better scoring angle.
Yeah, he's got such a deceptive shot anyway, his wrist shot in particular, that I would think he'd be stronger on that side. Benning to work, or check that, Galley to work back on defense along with Terry Karkner. As you see, Eddie Olczyk watches for this face-off that is conducted by Pat DePuzzo. Puck turned back to the point, but punched back away from Karkner by Thomas Dean. Coming across to get it is Galley, pursued by Olczyk. Dumped along by Galley and along to Mark Recchi, and he can start it back. Jets have 3 men back. Typical defensive posture by a John Paddock team. Loose puck chopped ahead. Lindros can't reach it. Shunted back along and picked off by Olczyk. Looks ahead, got a pass to Solani. Solani moving right in, and he was defended wonderfully from behind by Kozlowski. Otherwise, he's all alone and getting a chance. Solani once more. Fed one to the front. Knocked away by Galley. Spun by Steen, and a trickler went wide. Coming by to get it is Eric Lindros with a head of steam. Little pass on to Recchi, and out they come in a 3-on-2. Recchi has Lindros breaking. But the pass for Galley is swung right back out, and here's Solani in a 2-on-1 with Olczyk. Solani to Olczyk. Tried to turn one in front and was just in deep, and Benning was able to block it away. Benning can start it back for the Flyers and hands on to Lamakin. Lamakin cranks a shot, and that nailed high and held by Bob Essenza. First shot of the game is a scorcher from Lamakin's stick.
Well, Essenza, that's something that he does so well. Comes out to challenge the shooters. He probably comes out further from the net than any goaltender in the National Hockey League. You see the circle there, like Russo said, that's his position, his top position. He won't go beyond that very often. But Essenza, he's out there at least 10 feet beyond that.
Bob Essenza out of Michigan State. Benning cranks a shot, and that one patted away by Essenza. Turned by Keith Kachuk on back to Numanen. Dumps it ahead, and they're able to move on. Zhamnov with it. Chased to the corner and goes down. Still they work for it, and it is pumped along behind. Davidoff to get that one. So 3 rivals from the Olympic Games last year playing together on a line. Kachuk, Davidoff and Jamnov. The latter two with the Commonwealth of Independent States team, the unified team. Numanen with a pass on that's just tipped back out by Davidoff. Benning will go back to get it. Benning and Yushkevich again. We get a stoppage of play, and away from all of this, we have a slashing call coming up. And this is going to be on a flyer, so Winnipeg will get the first power play of our contest. Early goings here, no score.
At McDonald's, you've always been able to eat with your fingers. Now you can save money by ordering with them. This signal gets you number one, the Big Mac Extra Value Meal for just $2.99. This slightly more complicated gesture gets you the 2 regular cheeseburger meal at a great price, too. More advanced motor skills will get you the Quarter Pounder with cheese, or with this, the McChicken Sandwich Extra Value Meal. At these prices, you won't be able to keep your hands off them.
What you want is what you get at McDonald's today.
When we introduced the Lexus LS400s, it was hailed as nearly perfect. Our engineers took that as a challenge. Presenting the 1993 LS400, the pursuit continues.
I think both coaches will shudder anytime there's a new official doing his first NHL game, because he's being supervised tonight, and he wants to make sure that he calls everything that he can possibly call. And so both teams are going to have to use a lot of discipline in that area.
Dave Newell is the supervisor here for tonight's game, as he was last night for the first NHL game of Blaine Angus in Washington. Puck to the back now. Olesen across to Housley. Housley with a wrist shot, and that got the glass. Rushed along by Galley, but then swung back away from Steen and taken by Housley. Steen just tips it along further. Ed Olczyk couldn't get it to the point, but it was nudged there by a flyer. Worked across for Housley. Pinballs from Solani on back for Olesen. Olesen to Housley once again. Flyers challenging well. Big shot by Olesen, and it got the glass. Around now to play it and work it back as Steen, but it's cut by Acton, and Acton dumps it back down.
Well, the Winnipeg Jets have excelled this year on the power play. That's the one bright spot for them. They're currently 4th in the league at 24.4%, and a lot of the credit is Solani and also Phil Housley back on the point. They make it happen.
Olesen's pass is taken by Keith Tkachuk. Tkachuk had it brushed away, and here's Brindamore trying to get to it. Kept off by Housley, and that was enough to throw the play offside as Dineen moved in ahead.
A good acceleration by Brindamore, but you see the defensive play by Housley, and even though he leads the league in scoring by defensemen, I believe he's a -9, so you know that he's spent a lot of time on the ice when the opposition has scored at full strength.
Yeah, you don't get any pluses for goals on the power play or for being on when power play goals are scored. 57 points that Housley had last year were on the power play. Pretty impressive, especially when you consider what the total of points he had was 86. Another deflection, and this time it went off of Dineen, and all the way back to get it is Housley. Housley and Olesen the points. 2/3 of Olesen's points last year were on the power play. Keith Tkachuk lays it right back across for the carry on. Jamnov moving in with it. Packed at by his former teammate Yushkevich, and it's pumped loose by Recchi. Coming by to get it is Brindamore, but it was just fiddled away by Olesen. They still try to work for it, but Olesen recovering and in traffic got it over to Tkachuk. Stripped of it by Brindamore, but a good follow-up by Housley, who steps right in. Hands over for a shot, right on goal by Jamnov, and a save made by Roussel. 12 seconds still for the Flyers to kill off. Bob Essens attacks, and Olesen takes. Flyers have out Paslowski to work along with Mark Recchi, and in back it is Cronin and Galley. Little pass ahead was cut by Galley, or Davidoff might have been in all alone. Little pass ahead, 52 seconds, and one good scoring chance on that power play. Recchi had that one intercepted by Numanen, taken over by Lindros, and turned over to Galley. Galley dumps it back off for Paslowski. Puts it right on the stick of Mark Recchi. Pursued from behind and chased off by Chris Draper. And back up come the Jets. Luciano Borsato moving in. Eyed up by Cronin. Shoved off on the play, and the loose one taken by Paslowski. To the corner they go, and a big pile up there. Sean Cronin tries to emerge. Run off by Borsato. Cronin tries the other side. Can't do it. Cronin and Borsato, and a freight train hit by Eric Lindros. Up with this now is Draper. Throws it right back toward the pile. Moving in this time is Mike Eagles. He's hammered by Lindros. Comes back with a little shove of his own. To a side with the battle, Kozlowski swings to Cronin, and now the Flyers can step out with it. Pass ahead for Eric Lindros. He's onside to take it, but can't control. Instead, Chris Draper, the rookie, starts it back the other way for the Jets by bumping one that went past Mike Eagles. 14-10 to go first period. We don't have any score. Lamakin bumped off. Little pass in front. Oh, and a good shot was saved by Essenza as Brent Fettig uncorked one from the hash marks. Right back up come the Jets. It's steamed back in for an angle that Roussel can read and put off the glass. Lamakin trying to step by and can't. Darren Shannon with a weak one that was snuffed out by Karkner and just laid back along, but too far for Butsayev, and off a linesman. We get a stoppage of play, and there'll be a penalty coming up. A high sticking call, and Troy Murray will sit for the Jets. 13:46 to go in the first period of our contest. We still have no score.
Okay, panel. How can you recognize the genuine Yellow Pages?
It has a yellow cover.
Good.
It says a Belle of Pennsylvania on the front.
Right.
It has more choices inside.
Yes! That's a genuine article from mere imitators. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
The genuine Belle of Pennsylvania Yellow Pages. 9 out of 10 use it. No other book can match it. A Ballot Lightning Company.
Come on, let me show you where it's at.
Oh, baby, come on. Let me show you where it's at.
Whoa, 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 let me show you where it's at. Call the light, I like it like that. Come on.
While styles change and rearrange, Miller Lite is brewed from the start to be the one great tasting beer that's less filling. It's everything you want a beer to be. Then, now, and forever.
Come on.
Well, the Flyers get a good opportunity here as Lamakin drops it to Lindros. Now watch how quickly he finds the open man, and Fettig let a blistering shot go, and the Senza was equal to the task. A penalty was called, and the Flyers will enjoy a man advantage.
Recchi, Benning. Back to Recchi again. Flyers power play empty last night in 3 opportunities is 4 for the last 15. A little more credible, and a lot of that coming from the Islander game. Big hit by Lindros again. Benning gives it across. Recchi quickly to Dineen, and a shot, a sprawling play made by Bob Essenza. Boy, you sure like that puck movement on the part of the Flyers.
Well, that's something that they've been working all year, but what I'd like to see is the contact that Lindros is making. You know, he's had more hits already in this first period than he has in the last 3 games. There's the quick shot by Dineen, an example of the quickness that a goalie has to have. But now the next step, Mike, is to get somebody in front of the net, position himself there, especially a guy like Lindros. That would be a good position for him to take up because there isn't anybody in the league that can take him out legally.
Especially with the limitations on defensemen now about stick holding and pulling guys down. Bob Essens appears out at the face-off. Dineen gets it back to Recchi. Recchi waits and then hands to Dineen. Right across it comes to Brindamore. Recchi once more. Hands to Brian Benning. Benning to Recchi. Brindamore. Dineen at the front. Brindamore across to Benning. Benning flipped one to the slot. Chopped away. They try to clear and can't. Recchi, side of the net. Dineen pulled the trigger and hit the outside of the goal. Lindros around in front. Dineen a shot, and a riser went into the seats. It went off a jet, so they say the faceoff will stay in the Winnipeg end.
This looks like a lot like last night what was happening with the Flyers when they had the good movement, the good scoring chances, can't pull the trigger. But when you move the puck around very quickly, you get the opposition running around. They don't play the box and consequently get a lot of good scoring chances. So a lot of action, but no shots on net.
5 shots for the Flyers in the game, 1 shot for the Winnipeg Jets. Eric Lindros will try to win this faceoff. Still 1:10 to go on the Flyers power play. Lots of time for them. Puck work to the back. Benning has to go deeper. Flyers overall in the league are 17th on the power play, and the Jets not really much higher in the ranking in killing them off. They are 19th out of the 24 teams. Recchi moves in, deals one back over for Dineen, wipes out, turned one. Essenza couldn't get it. Instead, it's Rod Brindamore. Brindamore gives to the back. A shot by Benning. And again, his stick breaks as it has one earlier game. All the way back down at his cent, and Roussel comes out of his goal to handle. Then along for Recchi. Recchi finesses away from some pretty good forechecking by John Drews. Brecky back ahead, leading the rush in. Very deliberately, cruises to the left point. Lindros steams one to the back. A shot by Hines, deflected off the outside of the goal near the post by Brent Fettig. Fettig has had a couple of close calls, but this time the Flyers must drop back on the Newman and clear. Roussel controlling, and away from Darren Shannon, flings one that Yushkevich will control. Yushkevich turns it back across now for Fettig. There's no motor to this right now as the final seconds go off. Now Butsayev trying to get ahead of steam up. Penalty time is up. Teams are at full strength. Puck yanked right back around by Lawler. 1 minute and 9 seconds of attack time and 4 good chances. Lamakin worked over by Lawler. Puck taken though and backhanded by Butsayev. Fought off and then grabbed by Essenza, and play is stopped.
Well, good forechecking, and the Flyers are really manning the Winnipeg Jets. They're sending 2 men in wherever that puck is, and they're coming up with it, consequently getting the good shots on net. And you know, that's the kind of forechecking that I'm sure Deneen and the rest of the coaching staff would like to see.
Bob Essence's numbers reflect his team's numbers this year. 3.93 goals against average, and normally he's at least a goal against average below that. You see his lifetime record against the Flyers, and the mark is below a 3. He had one of the 2 shutouts that were worked on the Flyers last year, and until last night, the most recent time the Flyers were shut out was by Stefan Beauregard as a Winnipeg Jet. Penalty is going to be coming up, and this one's going to be on the Flyers. Delaney on a pass that is spiked loose, dumped in on the delayed call. Lawler turns it in, and Roussel touches, and we're going to get the penalty. And so the Jets are going to wind up with a power play. They're second of the game. Want to purchase Flyers tickets but think they're too expensive? Well, think again. What about $54? You can reserve your very own seat for 4 games at the Spectrum for $54. The Flyers are calling these 4-game packages mini plans, but you get maximum enjoyment in your very own seat at the Spectrum for $54. So call the Flyers, 215-465-4500 first thing tomorrow, and order your mini plan or a maxi plan or any kind of plan. The Flyers representative will know what you want.
Well, number 22, Butsayev draws the penalty.
This is the first one of the regular season under the new dive rule. Unsportsmanlike conduct is the official call, but it's a dive.
That's probably the worst rule I've ever heard in my life.
And why is that, sir?
Oh, gee.
Puck to the point. Newman and with it. Hands back over to Steen. Steen creeps and deals it off. Ed Olczyk to the back again to Newmanen. Across to Phil Housley. Wrists one right in on goal, and Roussel makes the stop. All right, sir. Ready for the attack. Why do you think that's such a poor rule?
Well, there's so many rules and regulations in the National Hockey League right now, and it's just very confusing. I mean, sometimes you go down and it looks like a dive, and it's very legitimate. I just think it's a bad rule to have in there.
It sure forces the referee to be really involved in subjectivity to determine whether it's a dive or not.
I mean, if Billy Barber was still playing, I could say yes, but...
Well, Dino Ciccarelli still is.
He does a good job, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Puck dump back off. He's not been tagged for one of those yet this year. Been given a couple of stick holds, but that's it. All right, Essenza with the little bunt on the power play that still has plenty of time. Only 30 seconds gone in it. 10:45 left in the first. No score. Flyers and the Winnipeg Jets tonight from the Spectrum on Prism. Back to get it is Galley. Turning away from Housley. Squibs to the front. Cronin cut it off. Gave it up, though. Shot. Score! Teemu Selanne. You don't give him much time and that kind of space in that sort of position. He nailed it. A power play goal, and the Jets are on the board.
Well, there's an example when you make a mistake against a player that knows what to do with the puck on a turnover. The Flyers had possession. Cronin has it, gives it away. Selanne doesn't waste any time putting it past Roussel. But that's been the problem in a lot of the goals that the Flyers have given up. It's those mental mistakes, especially when it's behind your blue line.
Selanne his 6th, and he now leads all rookie scorers in the NHL with 10 points. A power play goal that was unassisted. Back in now, Zhamnov across for a shot by Tkachuk, and that one was saved. Boy, you just sense the Jets warming to the task now. Kennedy tried to flip one in deep, but it's brought back, and here's a 2-on-1. Recchi and Lindros couldn't hand-pick it better, but a diving play by Numminen. Recchi again deals it back off for Eric Lindros. Lindros shoveled one behind, trying to get loose with Paslowski, but it's flung around by Essenza. Kept alive nicely by Yushkevich. Along the boards, Recchi spun one to the front, chipped away from Paslowski by Dean Kennedy. Yushkevich had it knocked away from behind by Zhamnov, and it's worked past Lindros and down. So 9:40 to go in the first period. Jets have the lead in the contest, 1-0. One other game underway. Minnesota leading in Toronto over the Maple Leafs tonight, 2-0 in the first period. The Islanders and Rangers will renew hostilities again at Madison Square Garden in just a few minutes. And also, later on tonight, it'll be Vancouver and Chicago. An icing call. No discouraging words there. They'll bring it back near Essenza for the resulting faceoff.
You know, when the puck is shot down the ice, and you don't want to give the player lots of time just to settle back. You want to get on him right away. Here's the 2-on-1 by the Flyers, and I still think you're never wrong when you try and shoot the puck. I mean, top of the circle, that's a glorious opportunity to shoot it, especially the way Recchi shoots it. And anytime you make that extra pass, that's what results.
Teppo Numminen was strong on that one. 24-year-old native of Finland. Part of an international cast of this Winnipeg Jets squad. And of course, the Flyers are probably more international than they've been in recent years, especially with the addition of 3 players over the last 2 years from the Commonwealth of Independent States. Lawler turns with this one. Lawler controlling, swings it across for Phil Housley. Housley's pass is tipped back down by Troy Murray, gathered in by Roussel. Played along by Terry Karkner. Dineen hit from behind, but the good follow-up comes from Hines. Gets it back again from Brindamore. Gord Hines just shuttles it off the boards, but Lawler goes in, and crunching into him is Boyven. Flipped one around past Brindamore. Brindamore catches up to it and drops for Claude Boyven again. Boyven able to hop by one, pursued by Lawler. Drop for Brindamore. Walled there by Troy Murray, trying to muscle his way around. 8:45 to go in the first. 1-0 the Jets ahead. Murray able to lift this one back along, and it's picked up by Hines, and he connects with Terry Karkner. Hacked right over by Brindamore to Housley. Housley trying to turn away from the forechecking of Boyven. Spirits a pass off of Shannon, and it's ripped back in by Hines. Around it goes for Essenza. Sets it up now for Phil Housley. 7 shots for the Flyers and 4 for the Jets. They lead. Shot right in on goal by Benning and blocked off by Essenza. Kept there by Brindamore. Flipped one that went off of Dineen in the outside of the goal. Boyven into play. Jams it for Dineen. Lawler with a weak one. Picked up by Dineen. Through Brindamore. So some missed opportunity there. Housley with a pass that is just spiked back down. Shift change by the Jets. Delaney couldn't get to that one. It's turned back into all sorts of traffic at the 2 benches as both teams were in wholesale changes. Along now with it is Numminen. Turned it right in on goal. And so Dominic Roussel will just hang on to that one. And we'll hang on for 1 full minute. 7:49 to go in the first, and the Jets ahead, 1-0.
I'm gonna cross the street, get some coffee.
Joey, Joey, bring me back a coffee. And play my number for me, too, huh? 235.
235? Got it. 235. Look out! 235. 325. 325. Oh, hello. Wow! 253. 253. 253. 235?
You can win no matter how your daily number comes up.
Now what do I do?
Box it.
Box it.
For more ways to win, just say, box it.
Hey, Hannon, lunch.
Hey, all right.
No. I mean, see what everybody wants. 2 cheeseburgers and quarter pounder with cheese.
Large fries?
Big Mac. Make it 2. Got it, kid.
With McDonald's Extra Value Meals, you can order your favorite food by number. Served up fast, guaranteed. What you want is what you get at McDonald's today.
Hannon, nice job. It's yours from now on.
John Paddock, a former Philadelphia Flyer, head coach of the Winnipeg Jets. He mentioned this morning that of the games we've played so far this year, we've only played 1 good one, so we're looking to improve.
Numminen flipped one in front, and that went to the corner. There'll be a penalty coming up, and it's going to be against the Jets. It's a holding signal, and I just wonder if we're going to have a stick hold here, called by Steve Walkham. Thomas Steen is the man who will go to the box.
It's going to be quite an adjustment for the players to not hold that stick any longer.
Number 25, Thomas Steen, 2 minutes for holding the stick. Time 12 minutes.
You called it, Mike. That's exactly what Steen goes to the penalty box for. There's the scrum just by the face-off circle. And Steen had a hold of the Cabbage stick, and he'll spend the next couple of minutes in the penalty box.
I like what Kerry Fraser does. Unlike other referees in the league, he will give the holding call, and then he will form his 2 hands in the shape of a hockey stick being held to the ice, and that tells us right away it's a stick hold. But there is nothing. We spoke with Dave Newell, the supervisor, about that tonight. There's no standard signal for that other than just the hold. So Kerry helps us out a little bit. We will lobby for the others to do that too. John Druce has gone to the locker room. We don't know if it's with an injury or an equipment problem. Recchi starts ahead on the Flyers power play, but it starts out with an offside 17 seconds deep. Turn the clock back a few years to when the Jets first joined the NHL from the WHA. 1979. December 28th in Winnipeg, the Flyers won the game 5-3. That is a sellout. As a matter of fact, that's more than they concede at the Winnipeg Arena these days. Pete Peters and a guy named Lindsay Middlebrook, known as the China Wall, were the goalies. Leach from Clark for the winner, and John Paddock was a right wing for the Flyers that night, wearing uniform number 12, a uniform made famous by Mr. Dornhofer. That was 32nd game of the 35-game streak that year that Pat Quinn and his crew authored. Benning across. Recchi to hold. Flyers need to get some movement going like they had last time. Let's see what happens here. Pass fight. Controlling right back up with it is Dean Kennedy, and he makes them chase.
Well, I presented that question to the coaching staff. Why not get a man in front of the net? They said we try to do that. It doesn't mean that you're going to be there all the time, but when the puck comes back to the point, you have to get a man in and look for the deflection.
There's no one there right now. And Shannon takes over. So Shannon off the glass and all the way down again. 55 seconds for the Flyers on their power play. This is their second of the game. The Jets are 1 for their prior 2. And the Flyers are 0 for the previous 1. On now with it is Brindamore. He lost it. Shannon just shovels it back down. So Yushkevich will have to go back to take the tap from Roussel. Troy Murray out for the kill for the Winnipeg Jets, and also Shannon. And in back, the Jets go with Boughton as well as Lawler. On with this is Rod Brindamore. Good contact made by Lindros, though Brindamore had turned away. That would have probably been an onside play, judging from the way he reached back in time. Now it's Recchi dumping it back in, down to the last 15 of the power play.
The Jets are doing an excellent job standing up and forcing the Flyers to shoot it in. The Flyers don't want to shoot it in because everybody's standing still.
What a hit by Lindros on Boughton. Almost put him into his own bench. Penalty time is up. Team's back at full strength. Olchek fresh from the bench, can't get it. Galley had it knocked away on defense by Phil Housley, and it's sent all the way back down, and Yushkevich will go back to get it. No icing on this. Yushkevich lines it around, and a little tip by Dineen on for Lindros. Then up with it is Dineen. Dineen controls and backhands in, but up with it is Phil Housley. Right on the money for Olchek. Tries for Solani, then it's sent across away from Steen. Numanen back in deep. Terry Karkner to play it. Wrapped it around now for Steve Kasper on the left wing. Has some trouble with it, but is able now to step free. Steve Kasper's pass is knocked away from Paslowski. Solani steps on now with a pass for Olchek, but it's stripped by Karkner. Numanen, little pass to Olchek again. He's got a little more room this time. Feeds over for Solani. Had trouble controlling. Couldn't get it to the front where Steen was all alone. Galley brings it back up with 4:45 to go in the first, and the Jets ahead 1-0. Just pitches one to the corner. Doug Evans goes back to play that. Nudged by Teppo Numanen. Two of them continue to test it on the wall. Paslowski now with Steen. Back for Evans. Goes down. Numanen right over him. Pops one along that is controlled by the Flyers. They still have it in the person of Budzaya. Roughed up along the board. Paslowski came by, but the Jets are able to get it as far as neutral ice, then kick it back in. Thomas Steen back to get this one. All of this is on a delayed offside right now. Numanen with a pass to Steen, and that canceled as they blast back in and go for a shift change. Roussel blocks that one behind. 8 shots for the Flyers, 5 for the Jets. 2 minors apiece in the game, and Winnipeg leading on the strength of an unassisted power play goal by Timo Solani. Moving in is Budzaya. Popped away from Boughton. but it's Lawler coming by. Brushed aside, and Fedek there. Wants to center, but can't. Bayutin stood him up to the wall. Emerging is Butsayev to Lamock, and he's checked off before he can get a good shot away. Butsayev around behind. Tried to turn one in the front, and that was blocked by Lawler. Now escaping Kachuk is Lamokin. Lamokin worked over by Kachuk. Around the boards it goes, and Lawler just sends it all the way down on an icing. So the game's starting to move across and along the boards more than with a flow back and forth. Clock has stopped here. 3:24 to go in the first.
The best way to follow the Flyers is with a 1992-93 team calendar. Full color photos, complete TV listings, birthdays of all the players. The 1992-93 calendar has it all. You can pick one up at the Spectrum or any Showcase store, or send $5 plus $3 postage and handling to Flyers Calendar, the Spectrum, Philadelphia 19148. Don't delay. Order your Flyers Calendar today.
During Prism's 2 preseason Flyers
I think everybody was waiting for Lindros to really throw his weight around. That's a good example of a takeout. Very, very effective against Bayutin.
It's almost a shish kebab number, wasn't it? One Flyer shot since the 8:46 mark of the period. That's 7 minutes and 50 seconds with just one shot.
Well, Mike, Flyers got off to such a good start, had many scoring chances. Then Winnipeg got a goal on a giveaway, and then from then on it's been very close checking, a lot of one-on-ones with nobody really having a decisive edge. But that's the way the Jets want to play. Slow it down, put everybody to sleep.
Off the face-off, Jets win it. Pivoting with it is Numanen. Little pass right out in front for Borsato. Headman's up the wing for Darren Shannon. Pops a fly to the corner. Troy Murray checked right off by Lindros, and Kartner winds for Recchi. Recchi rushed by Numanen, though, and play tied up for a moment for the Flyers. To the back it comes for a shot by Olczyk, and Roussel remarkably could see that one all the way in and just snagged it with his trapper.
Tonight's game is brought to you by Cold Filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Get out of the old, get into the cold.
Minnesota 2-0 over Toronto in the first. Islanders and Rangers are underway and scoreless in the first period. Vancouver and Chicago a little bit later on. John Paddock authored one of the more prominent chapters in Hershey Bears hockey history, over half a century of hockey there in Hershey, and he was the coach the year that they played 12 games in the playoffs and won them all, a sweep of all 3 series. Off the face-off, puck knocked behind. Galley turns it along now for Paslowski. This one knuckled over for Recchi, flipped off of Lindros and all the way in, bunted aside by Essenza. Flyers go pouring in, trying to outman. Lawler testing with Lindros. Lindros won the fight, got it to Paslowski, but he handcuffed Recchi with a pass. Recchi tries to turn it for Lindros. Out in front, poke checked away by Essenza, and bringing it back out is Darren Shannon for the Jets. Shannon moves to the Benning side of the ice, tries to get through. Both he and Gallion can't. Now an attempt to center, but that fails as well, and so Lindros finds himself nearest it and just rockets one that went off the referee. Dumped along further by Galley. Recchi taken out, puck to the back to Solani. In deep, crushed by Lindros, and taking it is Galley. With 2:05 to go in the first period, Galley moves it ahead for Boyven, but it was across 2 lines, and so again, play is halted.
Well, when the play is slowed down to what we have now, that's working right into the hands of the Winnipeg Jets. They don't give up many scoring chances. They do an excellent job of man-to-man coverage. Now, Lindros does get close, but you saw the stick work of Senza as he just poke-checked the puck away from him. But they're just looking for that 1-0, 2-1 game, and they're very content to play that way.
5 of the 11 Flyers hits in this first period have come from Eric Lindros. Brindamore shoots one, and that one slowly into Bob Essenza, and he'll hang on. We talked about the nationalities represented by these two teams tonight. We see the Jets have 13 Canadians, 4 Americans, 3 from the Commonwealth of Independent States, as the Flyers do, 2 from Finland and 2 from Sweden. And in all, there were 9 draft picks by the Jets this summer from the Commonwealth of Independent States.
And they're called the Winnipeg Jets.
They are indeed. Brindamore in on the face-off. And it is hacked out of the air by Terry Karkner. Karkner just rips it right back in again. Around the boards it sails. Stopped there and flung further by Essenza. The brush by Yushkevich misses, but Boyven, playing at center ice, dumps it back in, so the Flyers fix their bayonets and go after it. Olchek sent it all the way past Yushkevich and down, and so once again we'll have an icing call. Well, it's good road hockey on the part of the Jets. Get one, slow the game down, take the crowd out of it, and they've done it all to a T here in the first period, and all of it coming on a power play steal by Timo Solani, stealing the puck from Sean Cronus.
Well, Bill Dineen realized that it's early in the year, but this game is a very, very important hockey game. You know, you've lost 3 in a row. You want to get back in the winning ways. You're at home. And the home team, it seems, Mike, they have the responsibility of putting on the show. You know, they want to entertain the home fans, and of course the Jets, they're doing everything they can to prevent that and slowing the play up. They're really frustrating the Flyers at times, just getting in front of them and forcing them to do things that they won't want to do.
Unfair face-off, so Pat DiPuzzo warns a man back. Off this tie-up, Troy Murray able to win it. Lawler in trouble, but got it away from Dineen. And around now for a clear past Draper. Karkner keeps it, puts it right on goal, and it hops over to Mike Eagles. And Eagles spins it back out. Yushkevich up with that, pops it back along. Rod Brindamore moves it ahead. He's got Boyven along with him. Shovels to the corner, Boyven in. Boy, was he ever hit by Dean Kennedy. A couple of strong forces coming together there. Kennedy locking up with Boyven again in the final minute of play in this first period. Brindamore forced right off by Lawler. So Muscle takes over for the Jets this time. Yushkevich controlling for the Flyers, handing it back over for Terry Karkner. Then Yushkevich once again. Little pass, skipped over to Dean Kennedy. Kennedy just lays it back out. By the way, on that graphic that you saw a moment ago, we wanted to make sure that you knew we counted all of them. There were 19 Canadians rather than just the 9 that you saw. So the Flyers are not playing 10 men short here tonight. Maybe you added those up and saw less than a full roster. Big shot by Fedek, rattled all the way around the boards. Taken by Steen in the last 20 seconds of the period. Then for Timo Solani. Falling down on the play was Galley. The Flyers caught a break there as the Jets couldn't break out. Puck knocked down by Lawler. This time they do start out, and it's Solani once again. Just trickling one to the corner, and Galley back in the final Nicholsworth. Galley sealed by Olchek, so Lindros has to help out, and that'll do it on the first. 9 shots for the Flyers and 6 for the Jets. And the lone goal by Solani.
Well, a lot of those shots by the Flyers took place in the first 10 minutes. In the last 10 minutes, not much of an offense was directed at Essenza, but a lot of that had to do with a good checking of the Winnipeg Jets.
It was 9:27 of the period when Solani stole the puck. Take a look at the scoreboard and tell us all about that. We have Ken Adelberger downstairs. Ken?
Mike, we're monitoring the Norris division tonight. There's Toronto Maple Leafs coach Pat Burns. Can't be at all happy with what he has witnessed at Maple Leaf Gardens here in the first period tonight. Stars get on the board first. Stu Gavin from Ulf Dahlen, 3 minutes into the game. 1-0 Minnesota. Then watch Dave Gagne, the nice work behind the net. He is going to find Shane Churla out in the slot to stuff that one home. 2-0 Stars. Gaetan Duchesne has just added the 3rd marker for the Toronto Maple Leafs, or for the North Stars rather. They lead 3-0 that game after 1 period. Elsewhere at Madison Square Garden, second of a home-and-home series. The Islanders pasted the Rangers last night 6-3. That game is scoreless there in the first period of play. A little bit later on, Chicago Stadium will be rocking. The Hawks have won just 1 in their first 5. Vancouver, the only unbeaten, untied team in the league. That game an 8:35 start. 1-0 Winnipeg over the Flyers here at the Spectrum after 1. Let's go back upstairs now to Mike and Gary.
That the Commonwealth of Independent States can have if they get their guys back, and Canada can have if their pros are playing, and the USA. The Commonwealth of Independent States is probably not going to be competitive in the Olympics unless they get their guys back, because virtually everybody from that team is playing professionally in North America right now. Almost everyone. Bob Essenza, Dominic Roussel, The goaltender's about ready to start the second period. So if it's a good Flyers period, we should see more hitting.
More hitting, and again, you have to increase the tempo. It dragged there at periods, and of course that's exactly what the Winnipeg Jets want. You know, they love playing in 1-0 games.
Jets have not won a game on the road yet this year. They've dropped 3 at home. They're 2-1-0.
Well, John Paddock, he's not very pleased with the way the hockey team is playing. He said, as a team, we're not playing very well. Individually, there's a lot of guys not holding their own weight. And if they don't start producing and start playing up to their capabilities, then obviously some changes have to be made.
I mentioned to him this morning, I said, John, I looked down the roster. This looks like a better team. He said, it's a more talented team, but that doesn't mean it's a better team right now. Individually, there are greater skills, and we've found that in every lineup we've looked at this year, that each team in the NHL is much more skillful. A lot of it has to do with the addition of players from Russia, but from other countries too, as well as those developed. Each team seems more skillful, but not every team is a better squad. Well, that's John's problem.
That's right. And then John said, you know, when you have 6-7 new players on your team, it takes time to gel, to get the right chemistry. And, you know, the Flyers are in exactly that situation. Now, you look at the Vancouver Canucks, who haven't lost. They got basically the same team. They made maybe 1 or 2 additions. So that, from the Vancouver's point of view, that's positive. They go right to training camp knowing that they got virtually the same team starting this year.
Flyers will be in the meat grinder this week. They'll be playing at Long Island, where the Islanders seem rejuvenated lately. Then they'll be back here against Vancouver on Thursday. And then they have the Montreal Canadiens here on Saturday. And even though Montreal is sub 500, recently they've been better, and so they're starting to get their act together too.
Tuesday night, tune in to Prism for a great night of mystery and suspense beginning at 8 p.m. with Francis McDormand in the political thriller Hidden Agenda, and concluding at 10 with Harrison Ford in the box office hit Presumed Innocent. It's a night of mystery and suspense Tuesday night on Prism, the channel with a better variety of movies.
High sticking call to Doug Evans. 21 seconds into the second period.
Quite interesting, he had his son at practice this morning because he didn't play last night in New Jersey. 2.5 years old, and he said this summer he brought him a pair of rollerblades, and he was out skating with them, and he manages his son to push those feet ahead.
Just 2.5. Huh?
2.5. Boy, how quickly they started.
That's the truth. High sticking to Evans, and so the Jets, who have 1 power play goal in their prior 2 chances, will get a third here. Steen has Solani out there to work along with Olczyk up front, and in back, Olesen as well as Housley. Keith Acton moves ahead. Watched by Housley. Gets to Galley, and a shot got the glass. Along the boards, they jostle for it, but the Jets are able to lead it back out. Frederick Olesen moving it on. Olesen shovels over for Housley, and Housley put it to the corner. Thomas Steen with it there, dumps one around behind. Solani with it, points it on back for Olesen. Then along for Solani, dealing it in for Steen. Thomas Steen works it to the outside. Olczyk, and he had Solani free in front, but right in the way of the pass was Keith Acton.
You know, that really hurts when you go all that distance to get in the offensive zone and then you give it away.
Steen tries to get through, but Kartner wedges him off after he'd lost it. Yushkevich just lifting it back out. 50 seconds gone on the power play. 18:45 left in the second period. Shots are 10-6 Flyers. The game is 1-0 Winnipeg. Chomnoff bringing it on for the Jets. Cruising along and handing to Solani. Then back to Olesen. Right across to Housley. Shoveled one that went off a skate. I'm not sure where Phil was trying to put that, but it came to Dineen and back down. Essenza just controls it behind. Shift change on now for the shorthanded Flyers. Brecky and Pazlowski come out. Yushkevich to work in back with Benning. They play the hard around. Numanen saw that one go by Roussel, and it trickled through Housley. Rushing for this is Pazlowski again. Fooled momentarily by Numanen. Feeds for Yushkevich. Tried to take it on the bounce, but it escaped to the corner. Centering pass by Recchi, and that one checked away. Keith Kachuk had it knocked off his stick. Suicide battle. Pazlowski emerges with it. Gives it back to Yushkevich. Hurries one that went wide. So good Flyers aggression here in a short-handed roll. Kachuk kicked that one back out. Controlled by Benning and slid back over for Yushkevich. Down to the last 7 of the power play, and not much attack time for the Jets here, but they've got time to move it back ahead. Keith Kachuk bringing it in. Kachuk cruising around behind. Penalty time is up. fed one for a quick shot in on goal by Shamrock, stopped by Roussel. Davidoff to the point. Housley the shot, and that one went wide. Recchi bringing this one back up. He's got a man ahead. Got it on for Evans. Evans crosses and lost, but centered. Tipped by Housley right on for Davidoff to bring it back ahead with Mike Lawler. Miss for Kachuk. Chip change on now for the Jets as the Flyers started back in the person of Brian Benning. Benning's pass tipped by Fedek across now for Lamakin. Lamakin lost it to Darren Shannon, who starts it ahead. Bringing it up now is Eagles. Shot right in on goal. Roussel with that. Steered it along for Evans, and Evans can turn it back for the Flyers with a pass right on the money. Lamakin hands over for Fedek, and Fedek with a shot. That one just plain to the glass, but the goal stick on the ice held by Bob Essenza. Bayut across it, sent quickly back out. Followed through by Borsato, failed. Kartner hit from behind. Puck brought right back by Butsayev. Shaking free. Drops it for Lamakin. Can't get it through Lawler. Attack and resistance. Quiet house here tonight at the Spectrum. They've seen this before when the Jets come in. Twice the Jets were in last year. And both times they posted 1-goal victories. And the total in the 3 games was 5 scored by the Jets and only 1 by the Flyers. An end-to-end dash by Corey Foster. Deneen throws it back across. Terry Kartner to play it there. 4 minutes played in the second period. Winnipeg in the lead 1-0 if you're just joining us. The Flyers have had 2 shots and the Jets have had 2. Brindamore tries to start back in and can't. Solani with it and lobs one back out that Benning will glove down. Brian Benning worked over by Borsato. Good collision across the way. Claude Boyven stepped into a man, and back on with this is Brindamore. He's got Deneen breaking. Benning is shot! And a save made by Essenza on one of the better opportunities the Flyers have had. Gord Brossiker is hurting. I think that one went off him near the Flyers bench. Yes, it must have. Boy, is he ever in pain, but play continues. A live play as it's worked back on for Deneen. Deneen shoots one. Save and made by Essenza, and Kennedy lobs it back down, and we have a penalty coming up. We're getting a holding call. Probably a stick hold. And we'll pick it up in a moment.
Years ago, when we introduced the Lexus LS400s, it was hailed as nearly perfect. Our engineers took that as a challenge.
Next time you're dining out, ponder this. The Discover card pays you a cashback bonus on every meal you charge, which means you shall soon acquire a small fortune. It pays to Discover. Our annual credit card fees are sending you through the roof. Carry the card that charges no annual fee and stay on firm financial ground. It pays to Discover.
Well, you always want to direct that puck at the net. Because there's a possibility of rebounds, and there was an excellent shot. Saw Deneen in front, and look at this effort by Boyven, and there's the hold by Uton, and so he will draw the penalty. And I still am waiting for the Flyers to get somebody in front of the net, Mike. Last couple of games now, you know, a lot of passes. In fact, both teams, their power play is similar. A lot of fancy passes and no shots.
Let's see what they do this time. Third power play, 0 for the prior 2 and 0 for the night. Recchi. Paslowski. Recchi again. No one at the front yet. Recchi. Paslowski. Recchi across. One-timer by Yushkevich. That kicked away by Kennedy. Picked up by Fedek. Fedek trying to get a shot away. Save Essenza. Rebound Recchi right back out to Yushkevich. Then on for Lindros. They hurry it around, but Fedek unable to control that. Checked by Borsato. Brent Fedek works it to the point. Yushkevich right back to Fedek again. Has Lindros at the side and gives to him. Big Eric wheels it around to Yushkevich. Then the other side to Mark Recchi again. Minute 20 left power play. Paslowski with it. On back to Recchi. Recchi across. Yushkevich a shot. That one slowed and turned back out by Numanen. Jets will make a change in shifts up front anyway, bringing out Eagles and Lawler. They make a change in back two. Housley comes out, and Shannon is out as well. On with this is Recchi, lifting it back in deep. Dineen tries to get to it first. Essenza steams one off the glass, and it went by Yushkevich and back out. 52 seconds to go on the minor penalty to Boughton for holding.
Well, it really helps when you have a goaltender that can get that puck out of their own end. Brings back memories of Hextall, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. Dineen to the back. Yushkevich with a shot, and that one blocked right out. Courageous play made there by Mike Eagles. It's Recchi with it. Recchi deals over for Dineen. Shuffles it into Brindamore. Flipped one, that pinball just wide of the post. Around behind now, Brindamore. Points it on back. Recchi hurries to get there. Spins it across to Yushkevich. Then along for Dineen. Dineen just waits. Has Lindros open to the left of the net. And gives to him. Right back again, punched away from Housley and shaken back out by Shannon down to the last dozen. So there was plenty of time in the Winnipeg end, but not much in the way of opportunity. Right back ahead rushes Lindros. Lindros drops. Brindamore moves. Shot one, and that one blocked aside by the defense. Around now for Lindros. Back to Benning. Penalty time is up. Brindamore has it. Brindamore's pass. Tipped on now for Borsato. Works it back out to Boughton. A minute 26 of attack time and 3 chances. Benning hit by Boughton. Borsato trickled one behind, and Keith Acton moves to play. Boy, Acton really dinged last night when Scott Stevens ran into him, and he hit his head, fortunately covered by a helmet, into the boards. Had a headache, but he's fine enough to play. Hines with a shot save. Rebound. Score! Evans! 1-1.
Well, we've been waiting a long time for the Flyers to get more than one shot in a row. You know, it's one shot, the Jets pick up the puck and clear it. But that time it was a rebound, and oh, it's so important for that second man to come in and go for the net. Watch what happens. Here's the original shot, the rebound. Goaltender is out of position, and Evans just slides it in. So a big goal for the Flyers, but Acton did a lot of the work, and a giveaway by the Jets. They kept it in. Keep an eye on 15 as he cruises in. Essenson, no chance there, and the Flyers have it tied.
Hines and Acton come up with the assist on Evans' second goal at 7:13, an even strength goal, and it's even the scoreboard at 1. Housley's pass hung up in skates, tipped back out by Karkner. Casper tried to nudge it on and couldn't. Davidoff takes over for the Jets. Yevgeny Davidoff sent it right into Karkner. Brought back on by Casper, and Casper just shuffles one to the corner. Lawler in there, jousting with Evans. Two of them muscle along the boards. Acton sort of thrown away by Jamnov. Now Jamnov right back after him. Taking it loose is Evans. Right back into Jamnov, though. Has a duel on his hands with Acton, but is able to pull away and control nicely. Jamnov's pass on the money for Keith Tkachuk. 2-on-2, they move it in. Pass spiked away. Acton tries to reach and does. Evans starts it ahead. He's got a man open on the wing. It's Casper. 1-on-1. Casper tries to finesse by, and Lawler said no sail. Back up with it come the Jets. Jamnov bringing it on with 11 minutes, 45 seconds to go in the second. 1-1. Housley trying to pull his way through. Chased off and just looked for a pass. Tried to dump one along, but was defended by Benning. Right back out come the Flyers. They've got a 3-on-1. Benning is in, and a shot. Dave Essens, a rebound. Tipped in front, and it's just deflected away from Lamakin at the last moment by Housley. Now it's a 2-on-2. Newmanen brings it in. Turn one in front. Shot. Score! Davidoff. And the Jets get a half-speed knuckleballer into the net and lead it 2-1.
Well, there's the case where the Flyers, the worst situation was a 2-on-2. You know, everybody was covered, and Fedek was right beside his man, and somehow the shot by number 7, Davidoff, knocked it into the net. But when you have your man in the offensive zone, you've got to take him. You can't allow him to get a shot away. Fedek was trying to go for the puck, get the puck away, instead of taking the man and just staying with him, not allowing that shot on net.
38 seconds. Eugenie Davidoff scores.
Davidoff his third from Newmanen and Olchek at 8:38. So it only took a minute 25 for the Jets to get their one-goal lead back again. Thomas Dean finesses it on for Olchek, who roars in. Olchek, a shot that went wide. It lodges on the back of the net, and we get the whistle. Yushkevich, eyeball to eyeball with one of the Jets, but play is halted right now, midway in the second, with Winnipeg leading by 1.
How do you feel?
I feel great.
You feel terrible. Do you want to make some money?
Okay.
You feel terrible.
The New York Times calls Night in the City a lively, gripping foray into the urban landscape.
No can do. What's no can do? What's that, a Chinese appetizer?
Not since Raging Bull has there been such a performance.
This is it, man.
Gritty, intense, powerhouse performances from De Niro and Lange.
You want to kill me? I'll give a damn.
I'll bring you home, baby. Night in the City, rated R. Exclusive New York engagement now playing. Starts Friday everywhere.
10% off, get one 30% off today only. Half price, 10 to 11. Come on down. Let's make a deal.
No more double talk. There's a new deal in town. Uncle Sam's Expo, where you get the best price every day on everything to decorate and renovate your home. Uncle Sam's Expo is an entire city block of building bargains. The best buys in the USA every day. Uncle Sam's Expo, the big store with the tiny prices.
Flyers hockey brought to you by Uncle Sam, celebrating their grand opening at 23rd and Oregon Avenue in South Philadelphia. Well, Rod Brindamore will take the draw with Steen. Steen has Solani on his right, Olczyk on his left, Lawler and Olesen the defense. Boyven to the left of Brindamore and Kevin Dineen to the right. Hines and Yushkevich on defense for the Flyers. 9 shots for the Jets, 18 for the Flyers. But it's a 2-1 game with the Jets in the lead. This one pitchforked ahead and gloved on by Boyven, chopped along by Olesen, taken by Gord Hines, spun around to Boyven, and that was across 2 lines. Now Boyven wanting to work over Olesen. But play is stopped. Claude Boyven makes his presence known out there.
Well, that's his game, Mike. Yeah, he has to play aggressively and do a lot of corner work. And I think for that line to be effective, will determine on how quickly Boyven can get in the corners and come up with a puck. He certainly is a physical presence out there.
That's the line with Brindamore and Dineen. Boyven was on the 4th line that included Acton and Dave Brown, 4th in the way that we mentioned them, and 4th in the way that they tend to play from the start of the game if there aren't any penalties.
It's interesting. The Winnipeg Jets, when they're in trouble, they use the alley-oop play. First year of expansion, when we played against the original 6, that was our escape clause. Alley-oop, everything was dump it out.
Pass cut by Lindros, fires, and that went off Essenza. Lindros barrels into Numanen, puck taken by Borsato. So mark down another hit for Big Eric tonight. Little pass across. Sean Cronin after that one, Borsato right on him. Pass ahead by Uton, steps into his man, so Numanen can swing it back off Shannon. Galley to get it, circle to circle, on across for Sean Cronin, the ex-Jet. Spun back by Numanen, and all the way down. There'll be an icing unless it's canceled, and it has to be, as Roussel needed to play it. Along for Galley, and then to Eric Lindros. Pass on the money for Pazlowski. Moves in, has Lindros breaking. Recchi tried to stuff it to him, but that didn't work. Along with it comes Gary Galley. Galley slithered it along for a turning play by Pazlowski that's broken up by Bayoutin. And here's a 2-on-1. Kachuk moving in. He's got Zhamnov with him. Back to Kachuk. And too stiff a pass. He couldn't handle it. Back behind now Zhamnov once more. Waltz toward the corner by Galley. Lindros comes in for the tag team move. And they retain the belt once again. Back ahead is Casper with a shot. Pad stop Essenza, and he'll hang on.
Oh, my God. It's like demolition derby, isn't it? Well, that gets some excitement in the crowd here.
Now, I've seen that move with, but the 2 guys making the move were wearing peroxide hairdos, and one had the turnbuckle steering.
Well, there's the good shot, and he has such a heavy shot, and Lindros, boom, there's one. But I like the other one at the far end. Galley chases him, and Lindros finishes him off. Oh, that's got a smart. What do you say? Welcome to the league.
I'll hold him now. You just nail him, see?
Zamnoff? Is that who that? Yeah. The receiver?
Right. Acton in on the face-off. He'll have Evans to his right. And over on the left for this face-off will be Casper. Benning pulls up for the draw, and it'll be Terry Kartner in back. Jets have not had a shot in the last 5 minutes of play. Housley steps on with it. Bill Housley just creeping in. Turned it to the corner. Davidoff goes there to play it. Davidoff has the goal of decision right now in this game. 2-1, the Jets are ahead. Davidoff's goal coming at 8:38 of the second period. Solani scored in the first on the power play, and Doug Evans in the lineup tonight for the Flyers has his second of the year. That's the only Flyers marker. Puck worked to Lawler. Wanted to drill one. Kachuk just patted it to the front, and it's guided aside by Roussel. Played back ahead by Evans. Evans' pass just cut right back by Davidoff. Says thank you. Tries to dip by the defense, but that doesn't work. Benning works him over. Coming by is Evans, who will try it again, this time for Keith Acton. 8:35 to go in the second. 2-1 the Jets as Acton bounces one wide. Tip change on for the Flyers, so unmolested it's Housley to play. Bill Housley can skate with it, and so he'll do it and pivot as the Jets are making a change too. So now with the Jets having their forward unit out there, they can play ahead, and Solani tries to step by Yushkevich. Yushkevich prevails on this duel, but Solani comes right back and is really hit by Yushkevich. Stick popped right out of his hands. As back up with it is Brindamore. Rod Brindamore lays it on the wing. Fennick trying to get by. Forced off by Borsato. Up jammed right back out again, and Solani will stride after this one, so Roussel has his hand forced. Turned it along to Olczyk, and Olczyk flipped one that was tipped away by Brindamore. Yushkevich tries the other side now for Dineen. Dineen's pass walked further by Gord Hines. Hines trying to pick his way along, has it broken up by Numanen. Well, the Jets just have that whole area sealed off. There's no penetration available, seemingly.
I'll tell you what, Mike, when you lose the puck just over the blue line, that's always a great opportunity for the Jets just to break out, and that's where you give up those 3-on-1 breaks.
Under 7.5 to go in the second. Jets have the lead in the game by a count of 2-1. Controlling is Numanen. Hands on for Shannon. Shannon's pass flies off the boards and the linesman, and the whole thing is an offside pass. So play is halted here at the Spectrum with a tight game again.
Come on, let me show you where it's at. Come on, let me.
It's a universal truth. Miller Lite's brewed from the start to be the one great-tasting beer that's less filling. It's everything you want a beer to be.
Another unexplained crop formation has been sighted. Looks like there's intelligent life out there, after all.
My mama told me, you better shop around, shop around, you better shop around. My mama told me, you better shop around, shop around, you better shop around.
I always go to the shopping center 9 out of 10 people use. The genuine Bell of Pennsylvania Yellow Pages. 9 out of 10 use it. No other book can match it. A Bell Atlantic Company.
2-1, Winnipeg over the Flyers, 7:17 to go, second period. Mentioned the Hershey Bears earlier. They had a big win last night, 10-4 in Hershey over New Haven. Len Barry with 4 goals and an assist. Wes Walls with a couple of goals, including a penalty shot tally, and Tim Tukey had 4 points. And one of those was his 500th as a Bear. What a career. Paslowski, a pass across. Quick cut, slithered wide from Recchi. Paslowski with a pass that is cut off by Shannon, and Shannon steers it back out. Little tap on for Lawler, dumps to the corner. Under 7 minutes to play now. Kartner chased off by Troy Murray, but gets a little help from behind from Paslowski, and so it's advanced to Recchi. Recchi looks for Eric Lindros, but he's well watched. Recchi trying to work his way around. Centered one, and Lindros was locked up by Bayutin. Around now with it is Recchi again. Recchi flipped one that is knocked down by Lindros calmly. To the back it comes for Benning. Dealt right back along. Lawler took his man out. Moving in deep is Gary Galley. Galley took a stick, tried to work it further. Lawler moves in, and we just have a tie-up of players there. We can see the puck, but we're wondering if Steve Walkham, the referee, can. A little extra hit by Lindros on that one, and a disagreement here. And it's about time we had one.
I think Borsato, he retaliated there, and it'll be interesting to see if there's a penalty called. No, just the stoppage and play.
Well, you just sense the Flyers just need more involvement, more physical play, and Eric Lindros brings that to
Now
them.
keep an eye on 38. There's the good hit. Just a minor disagreement.
Shift change brings out Kutsayev to take this draw opposite Mike Eagles. Very quiet in the big house tonight. 6:18 to go in the second. Jets have the lead over the Flyers 2-1, and it's been the Jets style that has taken the crowd out of it, and from time to time the Flyers out of it too. Benning back to play. Eagles the forechecker. It's dumped off to Butsayev. Then played to Lamakin. Lamakin right back on. Butsayev nudges for Brent Fettig. Fettig's had a hard-working contest tonight. Had a couple of pretty good chances in this one too. Flyers have only scored once. Had a rebound goal from Doug Evans in this period. But the Jets have the lead at 2-1. Islanders and Rangers are 1-1 in the first. Minnesota 3, Toronto nothing in the second. Puck comes all the way to the back. Yushkevich's shot deflected in front. Scooped along by Numanen, but it hit a Flyer and went behind. Along the boards, it's picked up by Butsayev. Butsayev dropped it over for Lamakin. Lamakin's shot didn't miss by much. Around now for Butsayev. Turning it in deep, Lamakin goes to play it. Unable to one-time it to the front, though, and so it's just the Jets to play. Kennedy able to step by a couple as the Flyers in the midst of changing. On comes Chris Draper with it. Draper dips the shoulder. A lot of moves there to get behind, but he lost it. Benning forced it along, but Housley with plenty of time and space to play. Housley tried a spinorama. Lamakin said no. Brindamore tips it on back, and so Yushkevich can control for the Flyers with 5 minutes to go in the second. 2-1, the Winnipeg Jets in the lead. Little pass on for Rod Brindamore. Brindamore steps in. Worked over by Lawler. Housley bangs it back off. 3-on-2 developing. Zhamnov carries. Kachuk on the left. Zhamnov back to Kachuk, and a shot. He scores! Keith Kachuk makes it a 3-1 game.
Well, the Jets have certainly been opportunistic tonight. When they get an opportunity, if they find it in the net, two men converging, and that allowed Kachuk to have an open shot. That's why communication is so very important. You know, where's that trailer? When the rush comes at you, that's when you have to talk to your defensive partner. I got this man, I got that man. And then Boyven was just so late getting over, and suddenly we have a 3-1 game.
Zhamnov and Davidoff get the assists on Kachuk's third at 15-19. Lawler hammered by Claude Boyven. Puck taken by Dineen. Dineen back to the point. Hines with a drive, and he dubbed that one. To the corner they go. Brindamore bumped by Zhamnov, and Boyven the same from Lawler. Boyven couldn't force it to the front. There's a penalty coming up. It'll be against the Jets. Finally, Davidoff touches, and so the Flyers, trailing by 2, will have a one-man advantage. Latter stages of the second period.
We focus each week on a fun place to gather and enjoy the excitement of Flyers hockey. This week we salute Hastings Cafe in Southwest Philadelphia, your headquarters for Flyers action.
Thursday night, the league's newest superstar leads the Flyers into battle against the Vancouver Canucks. It's all the excitement of Flyers hockey live from the Spectrum Thursday night at 7:30 right here on Prism, the channel with the most Flyers games on TV.
Hey, great sports debate fans, this is Angelo Cataldi inviting you to our first ever Delaware appearance at the Concord Mall on Route 202 in Wilmington on Monday evening, October 26th. Come out and test my sports knowledge, and yeah, the rest of the panel might show up with some ideas of their own. Come early and enjoy tax-free shopping and over 90 stores. Seating will begin at 4:30 in the Concord Mall South Court in front of Sears. See you at the Concord Mall on October 26th.
Well, that familiar call again, right in front of the net. Zhamnov gets the penalty, holding the stick. You know, when the Flyers scored their goal at 7:13 first period, it was their first even-strength goal in 4 games. Last time they scored an even-strength goal was in the 3rd period in Washington, an empty netter.
This is their 4th power play. 0 for the prior 3. Once they get it set, it'll be Benning and Recchi to man the points. Rod Brindamore is out to work along with Eric Lindros and also Brent Fettig. Puck worked over for Lindros. Little brush over to Benning. Off the glass, tried for Fettig. Pinching in deep is Recchi. Tried to jab it to Fettig. That didn't work. Brindamore tries once more, but it's Shannon stepping ahead. Shannon turns along with Troy Murray, and they move in. Murray a shot, and that deflected away by Benning. And now Recchi pivots. 3:40 to go in the second. 35 seconds gone on the power play. Recchi just drops one to the corner. Dean Kennedy goes in. Waltz to the boards and hit hard by Brindamore. Puck worked free by Shannon, and Shannon able to scoop it, but not out. Benning waits and gives to Recchi. Recchi fires, hits the iron! Back over to Lindros again, to the back for Benning. Benning back for Recchi, across to Lindros, across to Brindamore. Wanted to get the man in front that was Fettig, but that didn't pan out. Still, they scrap for it. Lawler trying to muscle it along from Brindamore. It pops back to Recchi. Recchi steering it on over for Benning. Back to Recchi again. Hands to Brindamore. Creeps in. Fed one in front. Score!
Oh, all that passing finally paid off. But when you make that puck move, you get the other people out of position. Notice how Brindamore just fed that through about 3 or 4 legs and right onto the stick of Benning. It was just a soft pass, and Benning again was cruising in. And, you know, when everybody is attracted by the puck, you notice that all the Jets were looking at the puck carrier. Shannon had probably the best shot at Benning, and he reacted once Benning had already shot the puck.
Brindamore and Recchi get the assist on Benning's 5th of the year and his 4th on the power play at 16:58. So it's now 3-2 Winnipeg. Flyers fans talking it up. Dineen back, and a shot, he scores!
Isn't it amazing what happens when you shoot the puck? Well, Dineen's got a good wrist shot. He uses the defender as a screen, a high-rising shot. I don't think Asinzo was prepared for that one, but look at the screen set up right through the legs. That is absolutely perfect. And you can only do that on a wrist shot. You can't do that on a slap shot, because by the time you take that stick back, the defenseman has a chance to react, but not on a case like that. Excellent shot. Remember I was telling you about all the goals that are going to be scored tonight?
Yeah, well, you're up to 6 now.
Is that close enough?
Yeah, that's good enough. That's a lot for a game between these two teams. Dineen working his way back. Puck dumped off Dineen. Tries to squirm loose. Jabbed away, though, by Chris Draper. Cancels with Butsayev. Puck spun to right over to Newmanen, and he brings it back for Winnipeg. On to Mike Eagles. Eagles wants to step by. Butsayev watched that as it's turned along by Roussel. Flipped by Chris Draper, brought on by Dineen, and the fans are really into it now. Coincidental, the team is into it as well, and they've gotten a reward. They've gotten 2 goals in the span of just 13 seconds. We'll get the scoring on the Dineen goal for you in a moment. There's a question about it right now, but we'll get that answered so we can pass it along to you. We did give you Benning from Brindamore and Recchi at 16:58. Dineen's 3rd came at 17:11. Recchi, Dobbs at his face, having been really given a good thump to the boards, checking to make sure he's all right. Meanwhile, Lindros in on the scrum, but Lawler there to pivot away down to the last 90 seconds of the period. And the Flyers have some spirit now. Kachuk with a pass on the money to Zhamnov, moving up ice with Draper, fires, and that one went off Roussel and behind. Dumped along by Terry Kartner. Taken by Lindros, tried to finesse it loose, but couldn't. Terry Kartner with 1:15 to go in the period. Tries for Lindros, who lets it go ahead to Paslowski, then along for Recchi. Recchi sized up by Kennedy and shoved off. Lindros jolts a little bit with Davidoff. Jets have it. Kachuk moving back up in a 2-on-2. Keith Kachuk whirls and looks. Has Newmanen nearby and gave it to him. Newmanen in, fires, score! 4-3, the Jets on a hammering shot from Teppo Newmanen.
Well, the Lindros line was out there, and they were really tired, and they were running around. Nobody was taking a man. Lindros is really undecided who to take, and then tries to go down and block the shot. But that was a high-rising shot just over the left pad of Roussel into the net, and got a hand of the Jets. They keep coming back.
Boy, do they ever. They led 1-0. The Flyers tied it, but took almost a period to do it. The Jets required only 1:25 to go back ahead by 1 and then made it by 2. The Flyers knotted that up in less than 2 minutes at 3-3. And now 1:52 later, with 53 seconds left to go in the period, it is Newmanen getting his 1st of the year. Kachuk and Zhamnov come up with the assists on that one. And so the Jets ahead 4-3. And all of this on only 12 shots.
How many times has that been where the Flyers give up a goal in the second period in the last minute of play?
Well, that's at least 3 this year. And tonight the Flyers are playing their 7th game. On with this comes Shannon. Shannon trying to penetrate, can't. Yushkevich flips it back. Lawler chops it back in deep and off the glass. It hit a glass support. Squibbed to Galley. Across for Keith Acton. Dumped ahead away from Casper. Picked up and lobbed back by Housley. Gathered in by Galley. In the final 20, little pass ahead broken up by Housley. Casper tries to muscle it in. That doesn't pan out. Jets just stoke it on back, and Gary Galley must play in the last dozen. Leads a pass ahead. Brought on by Evans. He's got a man in front. Acton. Good shot went wide by Steve Casper. Yushkevich a shot, and that one controlled by the defense and glass back out again by Lawler as the horn sounds. 3 goals apiece in that period. And now we do have a bona fide high-scoring tilt here. The contest is at 4-3. Performances so far in the early part of the season by teams. Some of the real stubbed toes have been surprising. The Chicago Blackhawks are 1-3-1 in their first 5 games facing Vancouver tonight, and the prospects aren't good there. The Hartford Whalers 1-5-0 so far on the year. Who would have thought the Oilers would have been 1-5-1, but they are struggling along too.
You know, I must say one thing about Roussel. Even though he's let in some weak goals tonight, one thing about him, he's always been a battler. He works so hard in practice, and you know, he can put that behind him and really concentrate on having a very solid third period.
I was wondering whether he might be replaced very quietly by Bill Dineen between periods, but he's going to go with young Dominic Roussel here into the third. His team trailing by 1, 4-3. No carryover power plays as we enter this third period. It'll be Butsayev with Lamakin on the left, and across on the right, Brent Fedek. Benning to working back along with Yushkevich. Yushkevich dumped it along. Fedek took it there. Guided it along for Butsayev. Lays it for Lamakin. Good rush here and a shot right on goal. And Essenza dives to protect.
Well, one thing that the Flyers don't have to do is gamble and take chances and be vulnerable to those breakouts against you. You know, they can still play a solid period. Make sure that you have a trailer up high, ready to come back in a defensive position. And they will certainly get enough chances in this third period to tie and even go ahead.
Butsayev and Borsato to take the face-off. Troy Murray is out for this as well. Murray had been bothered by a separated joint and had not been able to play up until tonight. He was out in the early stages of the season after playing only 1 game, so this is only his second crack of the season. Borsato goes in along with Benning. Boy, a high, hard hit involving Yushkevich and Shannon spun one off of Roussel and wide. Shot back in deep by Numanen, taken by Shannon. Shannon waltzed off by Benning. Troy Murray tries to play it further and can't. Kennedy slugged one that is followed up by Butsayev, and he can rush it on. Vyacheslav Butsayev had that poke checked away, follow up by Andre Lamakin. Back on to Butsayev. Pass cut, though, and worked back out by the Jets. Controlled on by Numanen, who's been a solid defensive and offensive force tonight. Drilled back in by Eddie Olczyk, and the Flyers are able to play it back for Recchi. Recchi, who is the man who got the iron in the second period, tried to get it over for Lindros. That didn't work. Olczyk on for Solani, trying to step by, reached to try and get a shot away and could not. Jets think there should have been a penalty there. Solani fed one in front and Galley forced it away. Lindros turned it back ahead for Recchi and then on to Pazlowski. The drop to Recchi, and he's able to carry it in. Leaves for Pazlowski. The return to Recchi. A shot is saved by Essenza, and play is stopped. Well, those guys look like they've been playing together for a whole year, didn't they?
It just goes to show you what those short little passes can do, and, you know, the give and go. And again, everything is to confuse the opposition in their defensive assignments. But the puck can always move faster than you can skate. And so good work by the Lindros line. There's a one little drop, and then it's important to stop. Allow Recchi to go over, another drop. Of course, the Jets, you know, they're fishing for the puck. They're not really taking the man, trying to stick check. as we see so often throughout the National Hockey League.
What are you saying?
The majority of the players do it.
Now, crank the clock back about 17 years to the last championship year of the Flyers. What was their percentage of guys that took the man instead of the puck then?
Very rarely that it ever happened. It's always eliminate the man that makes the pass so you don't allow him to get back in the play.
Deneen, a shot save, rebound, another save by Essenza on Brindamore's rebound. Oh, and there'll be something coming out of this.
Now, what a glorious opportunity.
Like this thing's about to boil over here for a second. All of that coming out of a skirmish. Brindamore got a good rebound away, but Bob Essenza just reached out and got it with his goal stick.
Now there's the way the goaltender sees it. And look at that stick. I don't know. You know, sometimes you really have to bear down and put everything you have into the shot. And when the goaltender just puts that stick along the ice, I don't know how, if you're bearing down, that puck can't overpower that goal stick.
Flyers will wait for another faceoff, a minute 37 into this third period. Jets leading in the game by a count of 4-3. Evans comes in now to play left wing on the line with Brindamore and Deneen. Benning will pull up for the faceoff, and Evans takes the shooting hole.
Isn't it interesting that the Flyers have trailed after 2 in every game this year?
Interesting and perplexing as well. Forced wide by Steen. Old check to play it. Come back in by Deneen. Housley on defense for the Jets. Now leads the offensive rush ahead. Housley just angles one off. Roussel behind to slow it. Yushkevich tries to turn it along too. Selani fed it in front, and the backhander was wide by Steen. Around for Deneen. Turns it back to neutral ice, and Housley to get it there. Well, the Jets are really into this thing. Several of them standing at the bench. Some of them for a shift change, and others just watching the play. They have the lead in the game 4-3. Victory has not come often to them this year. 2 wins and 4 losses entering tonight. Keith Tkachuk brings it right back up ice. The man John Paddock called his best player in the playoffs last year, the U.S. Olympian, was taken out of the play by Galley. Dumped back along for Brindamore's little tap to Deneen. Oh, was he ever shouldered down by Bayutin. Little pass missed for Davidoff and went back down. Icing is waved off, so Brian Benning controls. I think Brian thought there was probably going to be an icing on that, but no harm there. They play the other side this time, and Galley brushed it along. Lamakin able to tip it back out. Bayutin will go to get it. 28 shots Flyers, just 12 shots for the Jets. None in this period, but they have 4 goals to the Flyers 3. Jomnoff with a pass on out now to Tkachuk. Right back to Jomnoff again. Galley tied him up, and down he went. Back to play is Fettig. Shift change on for the Jets. Brent Fettig on to Terry Kartner. Puck stolen and thrown back in by Troy Murray. Around the roulette wheel it goes for Galley. Dumped it back out, and here's a rush for Butsayev to move in. Butsayev finds a shot that just went high to the glass. Now back to Butsayev again, shouldered off by Kennedy. It is Lawler connecting back up now to the captain, Ed Olczyk. Olczyk dumping it in deep. Another shift change for the Flyers. Roussel sets it up. Wrapped around for Mark Recchi, but taken by Troy Murray. Bumped with Kartner. They try the other way this time. Oh, did Butsayev get out of the way of a heavy hit from Shannon. Shannon just got the glass. Butsayev tries the other side this time. Kept alive by Kennedy. Off Butsayev's stick. Help came for the Flyers from Kartner. Then along to Recchi. Lifted it back out. Shunted back in by Lawler. The Jets are content to do this the rest of the night, even though their lead is not 5, it's just 1. But they're good at playing this way. Back on now comes Recchi again. Offside called as Lindros head straight in. 15:50 to go in the third. Winnipeg by 1.
It's not what you're thinking. This isn't my lunch. I just got back from the Sports Authority. You know the place. All your sporting needs at the lowest everyday prices. So low, they don't even need to have sales. So just remember 3 things about the Sports Authority. Big selection, low prices, and enough change to buy lunch. But not necessarily in that order.
The Sports Authority. You've never seen anything quite like it.
Great views, low prices.
Amtrak Special All Aboard America fares, good for travel through December 17th. And you must make your reservations by November 13th. With up to 3 stopovers, you can travel any one region of the country, or any 2 regions, or all across America. Amtrak Special All Aboard America fares. You can't get more down to earth. Some restrictions apply.
Now, John Paddock was over in Hershey last night watching the game, and his comments this morning were that of those minor league players, there's only about 4 in each team that was any good at passing the puck. The rest of them had no idea, how to pass the puck properly, how to put it on somebody's skates, and we're getting a demonstration of this tonight, of a lot of bad passes that are being made.
Penalty coming up. Steve Walkham, the referee, has made the call, and the door swings open to the Flyers penalty box. We mentioned back in the first period that John Druce had left the ice.
Flyers penalty number 12.
And he is at Pennsylvania Hospital having an x-ray on his wrist now. We did not see any sort of collision that might have caused that, but nonetheless, he is through for the night. Stick hold called to Kozlowski. And so it'll be a power play for the Winnipeg Jets, who lead in the game 4-3. Recchi shovels it off for Eric Lindros. Lindros, a good wrist shot. Essenza with a little trouble on that, so he decided to hang on. Third stick hold call of the night by Steve Walkham.
Good burst of speed by Lindros, just shooting it to the left of the pad of Housley. He's got a good wrist shot. Lets him fly. You can tell the agility of a player when he can let that shot go while he's in motion. Most players have to, stop striding when they shoot the puck. Mark Messier is very good at that. He can shoot it from his opposite foot.
Galley cranks the shot, and that goes into the seats. Diving attempt made by a fan wearing a Flyers jersey. Good seats are still available for all remaining Flyers home games, including Thursday's match with Pat Quinn's Vancouver Canucks. They may be purchased at the Spectrum and all Ticketmaster outlets, including most Showcase and West Coast video stores, or call Ticketmaster 215-336-2000. Montreal coming in, and St. Louis as well. I think what you've been talking about the last minute or so, sir, is fundamentals. And I've heard coaches oftentimes talk about the role of junior teams in teaching fundamentals and how it's not being done as much as it was at one time. Olesen a shot, and that one turned aside. Olesen will control again. Floats one around behind it. Olczyk taking it there on the power play. 35 seconds gone on it. Housley's shot is blocked by Recchi. Gets it back from Galley. Recchi able to bring it on for the Flyers. Drops to Lindros. Curls and just plays the 4 corners. We're going to get a penalty coming up now, and it'll be against Winnipeg. And so the Jets' Olczyk goes back and touches it. So there'll be 4-a-side hockey for 1:07 barring further penalties, and then the Flyers will have a 53-second power play.
Tonight's game is brought to you by cold filtered Amelia Genuine Draft. Get out of the old, get into the cold.
5 minutes and 12 seconds.
Ed Olczyk gets a high sticking minor at 5:12. Perhaps we'll get a chance to see it here.
Well, Recchi, as he puts the drop pass down, and as he followed through, that's where the penalty took place. And so Olczyk will sit the next couple of minutes out.
Both teams a man short. And that time, before the Flyers' power play, is about a minute now. Big shot by Zhamnov on a feed from Davidoff, and he cranked it wide. Benning leads back ahead for Rod Brind'Amour. Brind'Amour back to Benning again. Lays it across, and Dineen moves in. Dineen shove. Puck came back to Davidoff. Starts it ahead for Zhamnov. He's got a trailer Numanen, but a good interception there by Benning. Zhamnov missed the thump of Dineen and carries it back in. Fires another shot, and that one squibbed wide. Yushkevich trying to work it along. Rolled along the fence by Davidoff. 28 seconds from now, the Flyers will have that power play. 14:05 to go, third period. Jets have the lead 4-3. Yushkevich rattles one around the boards that lodges on the back of the net. And the Jets get the stoppage and the face-off back in neutral ice. Bob Essensa looked sharp early in this contest. Has been tested a lot in the latter stages of the second period when the Flyers outshot the Jets overall in the second frame 14-6. And has been more careful to freeze the puck, perhaps getting a few surprises back there.
Paddock hasn't been very pleased with the defensive play of the Jets. They've given up far too many goals. But they've done a decent job tonight defensively.
4-3, they have the lead in the game. The fans talking it up here. Lindros is out along with Fedek. Gary, Galley, and Benning in back. In 12 seconds, the Flyers will get the power play. Troy Murray back to play for the Jets. The captain just lays it back over for Lawler. Brought back ahead. Laid on by Borsato, but cut off and worked back by Fedek. On to Lindros. Fires! And that one off the tip of the glove of Essensa, and then the glass. Dumped all the way back out. Flyers in the midst of a change, and the Jets protesting that the Flyers had too many men on the ice. Recchi back to fire one back off the glass. Around it swirled near Lawler. Jabs it along. Troy Murray with some room, and the Flyers will have to drop back. They have half a minute to go on the power play. A short one. This is their fifth. They're one for the previous four. Brian Benning with 4 power play goals this year for the Flyers. Connects back on with Lindros. Drops it on back for Brindamore. Tried to shake one to the slot, but Borsato just chopped it back out. And the clock ticks down now to 13 minutes to go in the third, and the fans letting the Flyers power play hear it. 10 seconds to go. On the man advantage as Recchi races ahead. Mark Recchi moving in, has Brindamore gliding alongside. Hands it across to Galley. Galley had it broken down by Steen. Pass cut by Galley. Steals it in for Lindros, but he has trouble. Lindros around behind. Worked over by Dean Kennedy. Close quarters to Dineen. Dineen curls it around for Lindros, but it's off his stick. Brindamore walled there by Borsato. Teams are back at full strength. Puck dipped in for Numanen. Lindros and Numanen joust at one another, and Numanen tips it back off, but Galley was pinching. Help came from Brindamore to keep play alive, but then the Jets force it back down. They want to get a shift change, and they'll get one here. No icing is called, but they get the change made as Yushkevich moves it back to Lamakin. Andre Lamakin for the Flyers, bringing it back in. Gives back for Lindros, who's been out a long time. Yushkevich tried to chop it along, and this one is steered ahead. Solani takes it while turning, walks right in. Solani lost it off his stick. Yushkevich pursued from behind, and that may have been what threw him off. Back across now for Lawler to wrist it back in. Puck bounces for Terry Kartner. 11:50 to go in the third. The Jets have the lead 4-3. Lamakin's pass too far. Lawler goes to get it away from Pazlowski. Driving it back around. It's taken by Kartner. Kartner once more working it around from Pazlowski to the corner. Turned loose for Butsayev. Butsayev defended by Housley. Chopped it along. Kartner pinched. Was hit by Solani. Dumped back towards the cluster of players. Kartner tries again. This time is Housley. Wrapping it around for Lawler. Tripped up on the play. Lamakin. Fans wanted a penalty, but the referee, Steve Walkham, did not. It's just plopped back in deep, and again, a change on the part of both teams. Kartner wraps this one back around. Hands it back over for Butsayev. Butsayev's pass on the turning stick of Evans. Laid across for Kartner, and Kartner dumps it back in. 11:03 to go. Third period. Jets 4, Flyers 3. Back in just a moment.
Filtered Miller Genuine Draft, the world's a very cool place.
3-on-2. Crosses over. Drops it off. Layup is good. Rutherworthy again. Jones and for Starfish. Leaps for Sigler. Ball fade. DeBerg, layup good. With a breakaway. Party time.
3-2. Rangers have a lead over the Islanders in the second. Minnesota 4, Toronto nothing in the third. Chicago with a 2-0 lead on Vancouver in the first. And here it's 4-3, the Jets ahead with 11 minutes right now to go in the third period.
The Flyers have outshot the Jets 6-1, and the Jets are certainly content. As soon as they get it, it's the old alley-oop and just dump it out. And they're really concentrating to make sure they take a man when they're in their own zone.
Hines flips. Numanen steers it back out to Davidoff. They've got a 3-on-2, but Davidoff didn't have good possession. Zhamnov crosses and shoots one, and that one got all the way through to Roussel. Zhamnov tries a steal, but Acton guides it ahead to Steve Kasper. Kasper sent it wide, squibbed over for Zhamnov, drilled one that went up into the seats, and the face-off they rule back to neutral ice. Travel arranged through US Air. Philadelphia's #1 airline offers daily non-stop service to London and Paris. US Air to Europe. Everything we do, US Air begins with you.
You know, one thing the coaching staff talked about was they're not really that interested in line matchups. They're really interested in having a game plan and going out there and working hard. If that's the case, then why not have shorter shifts? Just go out there for 30, 40 seconds, get off, have fresh troops. Because we noticed a few times that Flyers are overstaying their shifts, and then when they're tired, that's when you make a lot of mistakes, and you're not an effective hockey player when you're gasping for air.
Certainly understandable. Flyers played last night at New Jersey. The Jets had the night off. Puck rattled around by Galley. All the way back out it comes. Yushkevich flipped it deeper, but it's Lawler taking over with 10:10 to go in the third. Winnipeg with the lead in the game, 4-3. Lawler just dumps one back in. Roussel will direct that over for Galley. Up front, the Flyers have Paslowski. He's working the left side now with Recchi on the right and Lindros. Centering pass is blocked by Lindros and steered ahead on the wing for Recchi, but he couldn't take it. Back to get it is Lawler. Lawler and Housley on defense for the Jets. Up front, they go with Borsato, as well as Troy Murray and Darren Shannon. Housley racing back in. Hands over for Troy Murray. Wrist shot, and that one blocked down. Paslowski to play. Jets with 15 shots in the game. The Flyers with 29. 9.5 to go in the third. Pass deflected away from Recchi. Reached by Solani and turned back in deep. Numanen, who's been out there a lot tonight, on to Dean Kennedy. Solani racing back along. Kartner took him out of the play. Steen moves in. Bumps along with Gord Hines. Hines able to step away with it. Now the line is Dineen on the right, Brindamore at center, and Fettig on the left. Puck floated along. Olczyk will go to get it. Olczyk just lifts it along, and the Jets start out in a 2-on-2, but Steen didn't have a measure of control. Lays it over for Numanen. Floated back, and so some neutral ice play now. Steen's pass chipped loose by Fettig, walked back by Solani, and got it over to Olczyk. Olczyk with a turnaround 360 and a save made by Roussel. Laid back for Fettig. 8:40 to go, third period. Back on now comes Dineen. Then to Brindamore, then to the back to Hines. Dumps one in front, save made by Essensa. Rebound chipped on back to Hines again. Hines shoots another one, and that one chopped loose by Kennedy. And the Jets come back out, and it's a 2-on-2. Moving it along is Davidoff. Davidoff cranks a shot. Stick save made by Roussel. Benning with it there. Along now for Dineen. Right back up for Brindamore. Brindamore, though, lost as he was hooked from behind. 8:10 left in the third. Virtually non-stop play, and of course that advantages the Jets. Flyers have to change. A little more tired perhaps than Winnipeg, and if they can keep play moving and not have too many stoppages, why, that's an advantage for the visitors. Yushkevich a shot. That one rocketed along the boards after being tipped. Pumped behind, and Lawler turns with it. Loaded one along for Keith Tkachuk. Tkachuk couldn't get it out. We get a stoppage of play, and a hand pass is ruled, and so we will have another face-off with 7:46 to go in the third, and the Jets ahead 4-3. Want to experience the experience of Flyers hockey in person? Well, here's the perfect way. The team has a new 4-game mini plan for just $54. That's right, 4 games for $54. To order your mini plan or for more information, call the Flyers at 215-465-4500 first thing tomorrow morning. That's 215-465-4500 for Flyers tickets.
The Flyers just haven't had any concentrated attack going in the Winnipeg Jets end of the ice, where they spend a few minutes in there and get some shots on net. It's one shot and out. The goal by Evans, that's the first time in a long time where we've seen a shot on net, a rebound, and a goal. It just hasn't happened on a continual basis.
All right, Yushkevich now to play for the Flyers defense. Dumps it back up for Lamakin, and they start it back out. Under 7.5 to go. Flyers need one. Lamakin trying to get by, can't do it. Good defense for the Jets. Unable to come up with it, Mike Eagles, but now it's Borsato. Borsato walks it on. Watched by Gary Galley. Shift change on for the Jets, so Borsato is all alone and drops it back, and Galley takes. 30 shots for the Flyers, 17 for the Jets. 7 minutes to go here in the third. Puck worked along now for Casper. While falling, turned it all the way back down. Set up by Bob Essenza. Essenza lifetime 2-2-1 against the Flyers, trying to go above 500. Steen starts it ahead, drops to Solani, and a shot flowed, and right in on Roussel it came, as Benning was on top of him when he let that go.
Well, Roussel has had a fairly even or easy time in this third period, but on the other hand, and as far as the play in the Jets end, I think Sensa's only had to make one save, one tough save. He's had 7 shots, but not of the difficult variety. So the Jets, you know, they're playing a very sound game defensively. All the shots are from the outside. They're not allowing any close-in difficult shots for the goaltender to handle.
Jets move on from here to Detroit. Before they head back home, they'll be playing the Red Wings. Steen has Solani on the right, Ed Olczyk on the left. Lawler and Housley the defense. Benning to work on defense along with Terry Kartner now. Recchi, Lindros, and Paslowski for the Flyers. Lindros shakes one on to Paslowski. Pumps it by Housley and goes to get it. Paslowski chased off. Lindros turns away from Lawler. Wants to get rid of it. Got it to Recchi, and a shot went off legs. Another shot by Lindros went wide. Recchi to get it. Flips one that's taken by Paslowski. Guides it along well past Lindros. Along now for Kartner. Bumped and rolled by Solani, and Solani just tips it back out. Boy, you can see what Lindros can do if he just has a little time and a little opening. There's all kinds of wonderful plays can be worked, but he just doesn't get that much. Boy, 2 solid saves, one off Steen and one off Tkachuk by Roussel, and he keeps the Flyers in this thing. 5:55 to go in the third. 4-3, the Jets ahead. Pass from Lindros across to Fedek. That didn't work. Bayutin with a pass that went all the way past Keith Tkachuk and down. There'll be an icing here as Benning goes back to get it. And all the way back it'll come near Bob Essenza. We'll return to the Spectrum in just a moment.
Lots of credit cards will give you a cash advance, but there could be a catch. Interest charges. Some credit cards charge them from day one, which is why you should use the Discover card. Pay your full monthly balance and a small transaction fee, and we'll give you a cash advance interest-free. How does that grab you? It pays to Discover.
Bert sells balloons. Bob sells balloons. Bert sells wacky gifts. Bob sells wacky gifts. Bert delivers. Bob delivers. So if Bob's got everything Bert's got, why is Bert busy and Bob's not? Now, do you suppose Bert's got a big color ad in the book 9 out of 10 people use? The genuine Belle of Pennsylvania Yellow Pages. 9 out of 10 use it. No other book can match it. A Belle Atlantic company.
Well, I remember way back when things were at a snail's pace, we used to send out Bob Kelly, and he'd stir things up. Where is there a Bob Kelly that we can send out?
That'd be a good point.
Get things wired up.
A human bowling ball to run around. I think that's probably what Claude Boyven's role is, but he just hasn't gotten out there that much. And when you're behind, well, you're less likely to try to do that, and sometimes that's when you need to do it.
Well, you know, with 5:43 left, Dineen's going to put his skilled players on there, the guys that have that scoring touch, and probably go to 2 lines from here on in. And so Boyven not going to see much action.
Fedek and Dineen, the wingers for Rod Brindamore. That one tapped right in on goal by Mike Eagles. Long to play as Newmanen now. Guides it back up for a pass back out crisply to Tkachuk, then laid back over for Eagles. And Eagles given a good bump by Dineen. Meanwhile, Roussel just taps it back up for Dineen with under 5.5 to go in the third period. Brindamore tries to walk it back in, and boy, the Jets just converge like a curtain. This one tipped into the seats. So again, play is stopped. Thursday night, Gary and I will be right back here at the Spectrum for a 7:30 telecast. The Flyers and Pat Quinn's Vancouver Canucks. with exciting players like Pavel Bure. The human highlight video. All he needs to do is get the puck and dash from one end to the other, and all of a sudden, grown men in the Smythe division look like pylons out there trying to defend against him. That should be fun. And for the Flyers, it'll be a challenge, and they hope to go into that challenge on a higher note than what they have right now. The score is 4-3. They have 5 minutes and 10 seconds to try and even things up here. They struck for 2 quick goals in 13 seconds earlier, so Flyers fans are hoping not only for an even up, but for a goal ahead. Little pass came across for Troy Murray, started it on, and it's tipped up the wing for Shannon. Cranks a shot, and that one went wide. Around now for Lamakin. Lamakin turned it back over for Gary Galley. Galley tries for Lamakin, but it's right to Housley. Starts it ahead to Borsato, who moves in, fires, and that one went off of Roussel. Turned by Benning, and Roussel just gives it back to him. Pass too far for Galley.
Boy, so, you know, some of the passes that the Flyers have made here in this third period, or they're slipping off the end of the stick, they're 10 feet away. It's hard to believe in the National Hockey League, the caliber that we're supposed to have out here, that you can make passes that poorly.
Lindros's line is out. Boy, does Lindros ever freight train Borsato. Lindros with a pass for Recchi, and it's tipped back out. Well, there was one Bob Kelly hit. All the way back in it comes now. Newman turned it along. Chipped further. Recchi has it. Recchi dumps it back. Haslowski to control. Drops it along for Recchi. Bumps into Steen. Lindros comes by 2. Centering pass out front. Bend to the side. Lindros tries to lift it and was fought off by Thomas Steen. Out front. Hines is knocked down from behind. There'll be a penalty coming up. A cross check to Eagles with 3:40 to go in the third. The Flyers are presented with a chance to even it up.
Well, Mike, that's the best in the third period that the Flyers have had the attack, and they've used the muscle. They've done some real good forechecking and really battled. Look at Lindros here. Just can't get it over the pads. I think the puck was in a bit too close to Essence's pad and couldn't raise it. But some good work by the Flyers and Lindros' line.
Time 16 minutes, 20 seconds.
Cross-checking at 16:20. Flyers are 1 for 5 on the power play tonight.
Talk about a hit. That's got us smart. I don't know if somebody talked to him at all, Mike, but he's been fun to watch tonight with all the way he's thrown his weight around.
That is the dozenth hit of the night. Scoop Cooper keeping track of all of that, along with Jamie McVicker, our exceptional statistical geniuses up top here. As we look out to see Lindros with Dineen on the left and Brindamore on the right for this power play. Yushkevich and Recchi to work the point. It's tipped over to Recchi. Flyers with a big chance here to tie things up. Recchi finesses, gives to the back. Yushkevich, side of the net. Brindamore banked one, and the puck came right back out, and is sent all the way down. Yushkevich to take it. Clock says 3:20 to go in the third. 20 seconds gone on the power play. Yushkevich starts to move it, and the fans start to talk it up. Recchi brings it ahead. Hands on for Rod Brindamore. He and Shannon test, but Brindamore with it. Big hit on him by Dean Kennedy, and Brindamore just very casually continues to work it behind. Dineen comes to help. Then it's handed to Lindros. Out in front, Recchi could get a shot away. Backhander, and a save made by Essenza. And a little shoving after the whistle.
Dineen was absolutely perfect position and just couldn't get it above the pads of Essenza. Well, again, the pressure is there. The chances are there. Flyers are snake bit just like they were in New Jersey last night. Look at that pass. Boom. Right on the stick to Recchi, and the rebound. Here's another view of it from behind the net. Look at how quickly Lindros gets that puck onto the stick of Recchi, and he directed it to Dineen. You know, when the forward has the puck, he can see everything that's going on. He can really pick and choose who you want to give it to, and of course, Lindros being in the corner, he has a pretty good view of the ice and where he wants to put it.
After that skirmish, the Flyers point men moved in, and that cost them territory for this face-off, so it'll be back in neutral ice. A minute 15 still for the Jets to deal with. and the Flyers to deal with on their power play. No changes out there for the Flyers, except Benning is now the other point man as Lindros walks in, gives to Dineen, and a shot deflected wide by a sprawling Bayutin. And it is laid back down by Newmanen. Minute 5 left on the power play. If you're just joining us, 2:40 to go, third period. Winnipeg ahead of the Flyers 4-3, but the Flyers on the power play. Mark Recchi brings it back. Bayutin knocked that one loose. Bayutin to get it, weak toss. Newmanen has to help out. Sent one behind, but Kevin Dineen will come up with it. Drops it on for Lindros. Lindros rammed, but got the check of Bayutin. Bayutin trying to tie it up along the board. Puck switched back to the point. Benning maneuvers it over to Dineen. Cranks a shot. Oh, and that one went off the glove of Essenza. Benning to lay it along. Dineen to control. Half a minute to go power play, but Darren Shannon makes them chase it. Shannon and Dineen cross stick. Meanwhile, it's Benning up with it. Brian Benning walking it back out with 2 minutes to go in the third. Benning flips and Lawler scoops it back, and so the Flyers have to regroup with 15 seconds to go. This is Recchi. Then along to Brindamore. 1:50 to go in the third. Little pass kicked over to Benning. Brian Benning controlling it, dropping one for Fedek. Fedek able to get by Housley. Pokes one around for Brindamore. Circles and dumps it on back to the point. Penalty time up. Benning a drive. Deflected. Score!
Wow, somebody went in front of the net. All right, Brindamore. That's the answer right there. But again, hard work. Now watch, keep an eye on 17, Brindamore. Once he releases the puck to the point, he heads directly for the net, setting up the screen, and deflects it in. Hey, we've been talking about it for a long time. The coaching staff has been talking about it. That's something you have to do. And finally they do it, and they're rewarded.
4 seconds after the penalty had expired, the Flyers have tied the game at 4. 1:36 to go in the third. Benning and Fedek get the assists on Brindamore's third. Acton burrows his way behind. Chased off by Housley, but he still persists. Casper trying to work it free. Across for a shot. Score! Evans, the ex-Jet, 5-4.
Well, some good strong work here by Casper. So two guys that sat out in last night's game have really been very instrumental in giving the Flyers a lead. That's Evans' second goal of the evening. Look at one hand on that stick and a perfect feed as Essenza slides over. Evans beats him to the far side. Quick motion, and Paddock has called a timeout, and we've got excitement in the crowd.
On the first one, Benning and Fedek assisting on Brindamore's third, second of the power play at 18:24. 16 seconds later, Evans has put the Flyers ahead for the first time tonight, and Casper gets the assist.
You know, Acton did Bowman's work there, carrying that puck in. He wasn't going to be denied, and he doesn't get an assist on the play, but if you're going to get points to someone, Acton should receive honorable mention.
Well, nobody likes to miss a game, and Evans missed one last night. He didn't like it. I think he's in the lineup for Tuesday, no problem.
That's right.
2 goals. He got the first Flyers goal, and if this turns out to be the last one, and the Jets don't get any, he'll have the winner. Acton also an assist with Casper.
Now, can they defend?
1:15 to go in the third. They'll want to get Essenza off. Newmanen with a pass. It missed for Housley. Laid on back by Casper. So now the clock very quickly has become the enemy of the Jets. Housley's pass along. Steen jammed it in. Essenza can't get off yet. This one tipped back down by Fedek. Newmanen glides behind and touches it up, and there is an icing that'll be called, and so a face-off to come right back near Dominic Roussel with just under 52 seconds to play.
Well, the Flyers certainly have the defensive players out there that can do the job checking, and Acton and Casper, you know, they've been around a long time. They've had that valuable experience. But the important thing here is the draw, getting that face-off. Dean has always been a very big face-off man.
He's just getting the guys positioned the way he wants them, and John Paddock is helping out, as you see the 4-by-6-foot cage yawning wide open.
Well, Lindros is going to take the draw, and one thing he is going for him is that arm strength. Let's see if the arm strength beats the quickness of Steen.
Housley's the one-man back. Off the tie-up, the puck comes over to Galley. Dumps it back off, and it's hit by Housley, and it's sliding all the way down. Will it make it? Brushed aside by Housley.
What a play.
37 seconds to go, and they continue to fight for possession. Along the boards with the crowd still buzzing. Here come the Jets, and they've outmanned the Flyers. They were caught in deep. Delaney put it right on the shoulder of Roussel, and he'll just hang on. But the Flyers had two men in deep, and Keith Acton now leaps into the pile. And we may have some penalties coming out of all this with 24 seconds to go.
I'll tell you what, Housley makes a tremendous play here. The sliding puck, will it? And at the last second, Housley knocks it away. Great camera work, guys. Oh, that was fantastic. Here's another view of it. You notice Casper coming in? It's like a curling rock ready to settle in the house. Will it?
It would have been in.
Yes, it would have.
Well, the Flyers were lucky that Roussel hung on to that one, because the Jets were breaking out, and they had 4 attackers to a goaltender and 2. The Flyers had 2 in deep and 1 out of position, and so they were really being outmanned. But that is the break of the evening for the Flyers. 24 seconds still to go for John Paddock's crew to try and get a tie out of this.
Paddock seems to be in a trance right now. Can't believe what has happened to his hockey team, but he said that's the way it's been going all year. We just can't put it together for 60 minutes, but I think a lot of teams can say that, Mike.
Yeah. Housley, the one man at the back. 5 blockers and jammers up front. Troy Murray will try to win it from Brindamore. The Flyers by 1. Kachuk had hooked up with Dineen prematurely. Pat DiPuzzo didn't drop it. Getting them set again. Motions a pair back. And it's put in play, and the Flyers have it. Galley chips it around, and it'll go all the way back out. And it'll be short of icing. 15 seconds to go. Housley's pass. They try to chip it ahead. Doesn't work. Bumped along, and Galley backhands, but that cut by Numminen. Down to the last 7. Numminen feeds one ahead that's deflected across. Unable to get it, Troy Murray. The Flyers are going to win it.
It wasn't pretty, but the 2 points certainly will count. What a comeback.
It all looks so sour into the final 2 minutes. But with 1:36 to go, Brindamore converted a deflection on the power play to tie it. And 16 seconds later, Doug Evans, scratched last night, came up with 2 goals tonight and reversed his fortunes in just 24 hours, and that of the Flyers too. So they end the week of play much more solidly than they'd been all week long. They had 3 losses, followed by a victory here tonight in come-from-behind fashion. The final score, the Flyers 5 and the Jets 4.
He has the skills, he has the work ethic, and very difficult person to stop.
Washington's really going well, and the Flyers are not. See if those...
Big smile on the face and the bus and the plane last night from Joseph Baranek.
28 games is a long time to go, Gene, without a goal, but finally Joseph Baranek on a great feed from Mark Recchi put it in the net. You'd never know that he was in a slump because he's always smiling, happy-go-lucky. Let's see what this goal does for him. I know one thing, the heat is off.
Tampa Bay coach Terry Chris was just delighted, I think, that we talked about him so much last night.
He was also delighted in the fact that the Flyers went to overtime, had a very difficult game against Montreal Canadiens in the hitting department, Every win from here on in is an improvement for Tampa Bay. They will have a better record than last year. He'll keep their spirits up. He'll make them work. And he would like nothing better than to play the spoiler's role in tonight's contest.
Flyers have the next 5 days off. This should be, Kenny, a maximum effort.
Yes, indeed. They do need it, don't they? A little more than 2 weeks ago, the Flyers announced that Bill Barber was joining the Flyers coaching staff. Bill is an assistant whose responsibilities are more personal than technical. We're going to explain that in tonight's intermissions. Right now, Bill talks about the playoff drive and what the Flyers have to do in these final 15 games.
The players have to be reminded that how important it really is to come in and be prepared to play to their best. And a lot of times, it's a long schedule. It's tough to keep everybody up. But we're in a position now, and every team's in this position, that we have to have the best from everyone every night. We can't have passengers. You know, we got a minimal amount of games left. We're in a dogfight now to get into that last playoff spot, or hopefully maybe even better. And we're going to have to demand that work from our players, and they've responded, I think, really well the last few games. I think our players have really given everything they've had, and that's what we need to compete every night.
Is it just coincidence? The Flyers have played much better since Bill has come down from the scouting office. We're going to be in conversation with Bill in both intermissions tonight, talking about his responsibilities and some interesting comments about maybe a coaching future. That and much, much more. Stay tuned, everybody, live from the Spectrum, the Flyers in Tampa Bay in just a moment.
At the first tickly itch of athlete's foot, Gasonettes. Killing those grungy fungi before they get racket and burning. Go get that can now, or else don't blame Gasonettes.
Tonight's game is brought to you by Miller Lite. It's everything you want a beer to be. By Meridian Bank, the official bank of the Philadelphia Flyers. Your local McDonald's restaurants. What you want is what you get at McDonald's today. The Discover card. It pays to discover the card that pays you back. By the Bell Atlantic Yellow Pages. The Yellow Pages 9 out of 10 people use. The genuine Bell Atlantic Yellow Pages. By Pizza Hut. Try our new white or old-style red Neapolitan pizzas. A large is just $3.99 with the purchase of any large or medium pizza. By the Pennsylvania State Lottery. Lottery proceeds benefit older Pennsylvanians. By Gillette Sensor and the Gillette Series. Gillette, the best a man can get. And by British Airways, the world's favorite airline.
Chicago-bound. 3 sets of contact lenses are expected in Tampa by tomorrow morning. Express mail from the Postal Service will get them there overnight, guaranteed, from just $9.95. Every day, overnight, we deliver for you.
Jim Longacre with the conclusion of the anthem here at the Spectrum in Philadelphia, where our officials for tonight's game, Terry Gregson, the referee, the linesman Ron Asselstein, and Jean Morin.
Darren Pupa has just had an outstanding year for the Tampa Bay Lightning. This marks his 57th appearance. Look at that goals against average, and the save percentage is over 9. Dominique Roussel, last night in Montreal, probably was a little bit nervous playing in the city that he grew up, and Montreal being his favorite team. 3 goals that got by him were very stoppable. But against Tampa Bay, he has not lost, won all 3 with a 1.97 average.
Let me give you a thought for strategy. Usually a very cautious team. But would not Terry Chris say, go at him, high tempo, charge at him, make him work after the game they had last night. Don't let Philadelphia set the tempo.
Well, I agree with that, Gene. And one thing for the Flyers, you don't want to fall behind Tampa Bay because then they can go under their shell, and they do that very effectively.
Zettler Racine, and it's Brindamore with Lindros and Renberg on the far side. Brindamore took the face-off. I thought that was intriguing. Tim Berglund is out there along with Mark Bureau and John Tucker. Defensively, Bergevin on one side and Joe Ricci on the other. The number 93 worn by Pupa is a declamation last year that's when he got free and was able to play full-time. Flyers in. Shot right off the draw up there. A block pass from Renberg.
Well, for a few moments last night, the line was held in check, but when you have explosiveness like the Flyers do, look at that great pass that sets Renberg up. Now, he was looking immediately for a pass. Perhaps should have fired it right away using Ricci as a screen, but got his own rebound and able to fire it on that. Gary Galley is in the lineup. Ramage, Eklund, Deneen, McGill, and Bowen are not. Examiner, Hemlick, and Klima will not be dressed for Tampa Bay.
John Chambers finds Pat Allenuk, who did not play in the game last Sunday. He drills it in. Roussel deep save up for grabs, and Allenuk got it, and the rebound was picked up on the near side. Tripped up. That was Brian Bradley, as the aforementioned Jeff Finley sends in. Fedek takes his man out. Centering drive, and that was kicked to the near side. Recchi, as the pass goes along the near side, back checks as Bradley. Bumps in Allenuk. He's right on through. Drop pass. Long whistling shot. Kick save, and a held by Roussel. That was off the stick of Adam Creighton.
Well, there was a pretty big gap between Galley and number 25, Finley, and Bradley. He went right through the seam. And one thing you have to be very aware of is the speed of Bradley. Galley, of course, nursing that shoulder injury. The pain went down his back, shoulders, neck. He's been getting treatments. He was in Montreal, skated briefly. Didn't really expect him in the game tonight, Gene, because the Flyers do have another 5 days off before they play Hartford, but he wants to play, and there he is.
Big rangy second-year man Chris Gratton. They've got DeMaio out along with John Tucker. Tucker played in the Bradley line last week. That's Rob DeMaio. Point, Rudy Poshak. Deflected wide. Danton Cole behind the net. Roussel goes out to grab for the stoppage of play.
I have a lot of respect for Crispy as a player on the Stanley Cup championship teams. He was utilized as a checker, penalty killer, but did it very effectively. The fire pot, they call him. But he's a winner, and he's getting the most out of this hockey club.
Mark Lamb is there with Brindamore and Conroy. Brindamore out to get a second face-off man. Penetration. Bergevin is set just on the outside of the long pad of Roussel, and they grab an outside play. Conroy with a drive. And that was eaten up by Pupa. The loose play away from Poshak is covered by Tampa Bay. Conroy tries to send in, cut off. Poshak finds Cole. Down that left wing side to Gratton. Into the slot. Turnaround shot. And Roussel read the play and smothered it off the stick of Rob DeMaio. Andre Faust in. He gets through one man. Drop pass. Back to Faust. Oh, and we're going to have a penalty, I believe, against Gratton for pulling down the flyer who went in on Darren Pupa.
That was Conroy that was going for the net. You know, Tampa Bay is a hockey club that has smaller forwards, and even though you may be in a position of thinking you're tired, you can't think that way tonight, and you have to bump and grind against this hockey club. Here's the give and go. You can see the takedown by Gratton. And in back-to-back games, this will be the 19th game for the Flyers. They have not fared very well in the second game. They've only won 5, lost 12, and tied 1.
Interference at 2:09. Grattan 89 minutes on the air. Philadelphia 7th in the league on the power play. Tampa Bay 26th in killing penalties. Philadelphia on the year just 2 for 11. And our McDonald power play playoff contestant is Catherine Benningfield of University Park, Pennsylvania. Catherine, if the Flyers score on this power play, you'll get all the other goodies anyway. You'll also get the new jackpot at $25. Plus, you, as all entries, are eligible for the grand prize drawing at the end of the year.
Flyers have had their best power play efficiency right here at the Spectrum, 25.6%.
One thing that even though they're last, Gary, in killing penalties, they've been short so little, only 260 times, say, for example, 80 less than the Flyers, that the percentage hasn't hurt them in total goals.
Oh, they're dead even, aren't they?
Yeah. So Philadelphia in the second half of the season has been 22% on the power play. If you could do that all year, you're going to win a lot of games. Renberg, Lindros. Renberg, the pass not sharp. Eric picks it up himself. To Recchi. Corner play, slapped that by Ricci, and sent down the ice off the stick of Danton Cole. 3 minutes gone, first period. Minute 10 left on the power play.
Well, though so far in the game, Flyers just are not as sharp as they have been the last 5 games.
Gally Renberg dropped Recchi, wants to go in, and it deflects into the player bench on the near side. Couple of pretty good goal scorers on that bench. We'll talk about them in a minute.
Now Mark Recchi continues to pile up the points. He leads the team with 91. Also shots on net. And he's 4th in the National Hockey League. Gretzky and Fedorov will be very difficult to catch. They're having outstanding years. And one thing about him, he's played with a lot of injuries throughout the 2 years here. Has not missed a game in a Flyer uniform.
Over his last 4 games, Recchi with 3 goals and 7 assists for 11 points. My friend, for the first time in a quarter of a century, got a chance to upgrade your seats to the lower level at the new Spectrum 2 and a wonderful Flyers Club box seat. Don't delay. Maybe another quarter of a century before you have a similar chance. Call 215-389-9500. That's 215-389-9500. Recchi, Moronic, Fedek, along with Racine and Yuskevich, and it's down the ice. Flyers are led by Recchi with 10, Lindros with 12 on the power play. Recchi, the Moronic, can't handle it, and it's back the other way. Half minute left on the power play. Tampa Bay flooding center ice, making it difficult to maneuver. Yuskevich in and dump.